and we're about to launch the center. The guest of honor is already here with us. We're receiving him in the parking lot. We have Professor Hosea, the TLS president, Dr. Nimeleza Nshala, the TIC board chairperson, receiving him, Mr. Khaled Yamanya, the ED TLS, Mr. Alphonse Gura, MD TIC, already there, and the guest of honor is the Honorable Amon Panju, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Constitutional and Legal Affairs. All right,
Yes.
and if you're receiving the live feed right now, you can see the guest of honor is standing in front of the table.
Recording.
Yeah,
Mkuu nipe amani, shoti iko sawa? Naam. Mkuu unanipata? Chief unanipata? Nipe shoti ni sawa.
All right, let's take a picture first.
Poa poa.
All right, that looks good. We're handing over the kerosene. Stretch your hand. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at a count of three, from 3, 2, 1, take this guy. And the center is officially open. I believe you're clapping up there. I can't hear you, but please do clap. And that's very well done. That's for the official up there. This is well done. Congratulations for Kimataifa.
Poa. Poa poa.
see it fit to deliver your speech in Swahili, but please allow us to continue with an international language that bridges our relations. As we're launching the Tanzania International Arbitration Center, the launch is here. It's also broadcast live all over the world. We have people joining us today, even in the panel, from Pretoria, from London, and so we'd truly like to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And so language should not be a matter today. It should just be an access and a bridge for everyone within Tanzania and beyond. Karibu sana, Mheshimiwa Mpanju. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Edward Hosea, the TLS president. Let's please put our hands together. And Dr. Rugemeleza Mshala, the TIAC board chairperson. Please also acknowledge his presence. Mr. Khaled Gamaya, the executive director at TLS. Please acknowledge his presence. Mr. Alphonse Gura, the MD TIAC. Let's also acknowledge his presence. They all have a part to play in the program, and please feel free to introduce persons of interest, VIPs, as you step up and get a chance to speak. But here is the program, and these are some of the contents on the program. We'll begin with introductory and welcome remarks. We'll then listen to the remarks by the board chairperson on the broad vision of the TIAC. We'll welcome remarks by the president of TLS on the background to the establishment of TIAC and TLS patronage to TIAC. We'll then welcome the guest of honor for his keynote address. We have certain recognitions to make. One will begin with the board, presidents, the first board, our sponsors. We'll then move into an explanation on of the TIAC transition strategy between 2021 and 2022. You can see it's a single year. There's no way you can have a strategy in place enough, and so it's called the transition strategy. And so we'll listen to the salient features of the TIAC arbitration rules, and this will be delivered by Ms. Madeline Kimei, the TIAC director and consultant. We'll also have a simulation of the arbitration rules by Mr. Alphonse Gura, and most importantly today, we'll be doing a fundraiser for furnishing TIAC arbitration rooms. So please join me in that. At the high table, wherever you're seated, wherever you're from, please join us in fundraising, and we have a pledge form that we will move around the room. That's why we have good pens for you from one of our sponsors. Please fill those in. They are not time-bound for today alone, but you may decide to contribute over a period of time. And we'd appreciate if you would also tell your good friends and colleagues to also join us. And so whatever we can get today would be amazing, would be fantastic, but let's keep this going. And I have a good story to tell you when that moment arrives, as we have just commemorated the passing of the father of the nation. And I'll tell you a story that might inspire you to contribute generously to the fundraiser of the arbitration rooms, the furnishing of them. We'll then have a panel discussion. We have Dr. Wilbert Kapinga, Managing Partner, Bauman's Tanzania, one of our sponsors, and the Honorable Retired Judge, Dr. Fawz Twaib, Judge of the High Court, Tanzania. But joining us from London will be Dr. Rukia Baruti, Secretary General, African Arbitration Association, and Mr. Stanley Nyamhindi, who's the CEO of SADC Lawyers Association. We were in touch with him earlier this morning by phone. He's ready and good to go. This will be moderated by Mr. Alphonse Gura. We'll then take pictures with the guest of honor, and hopefully you can join us for lunch before we depart. And so with that said, thank you very much to the ABC attorneys, Godwin attorneys, TAOMAC, which is the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Bauman's Tanzania Limited, Law Hill, and of course Wakili TV, who are ensuring that we are streaming this live please log in to Wakili TV and copy the link and send it out to all your colleagues, all your groups. Let them know that we are here now ready and underway with the launch of the Tiac Center. Karibu sana, Mr. Haleb Gamaya, the ED TLC, for your introductory and welcome remarks. You're sharing this space with Mr. Alphonse Gura, the MD Tiac. Let's put our hands together. Mr. Khaled, karibu sana.
Good morning. Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Honorable Sowana, Mr. Amon Panju, we thank you very much for accepting and for your effort to travel to Dar es Salaam. Honorable TLS President, Professor Edward Hussein, Honorable Board Chair, Dr. Rugemereza Nchara, my colleague, MD, Tiac, Honorable Judges, retired judges, Honorable Ambassadors who are here, ladies and gentlemen here present, just forgive with my protocol competence, but all protocol are observed. Just to say a retro, why Tanganyika Law Society has this Tiac now, why it's established, so on. There will be so many things to be said by my president, the board chair, the MD himself. But just to say a retro, to shed a light why TLS did this. If you go back to the Tanganyika Law Society objectives, there are several objectives. Tanganyika Law Society was established way back in 1954, started operation in 1955, but that does not mean that there wasn't a body of lawyers before. Tanganyika Law Society started way back in 1920 when we have the reception clause. So it is an old institution. And if you do with age, it must have retired. But it is still there with a perpetual succession, it will be there. If you look carefully, the TLS Act with the 9 objectives, there are objectives. One of the objectives is to assist the public in all matters of law and administration of justice. Is to protect members of the public. Members of the public here, there are many, including ourselves, including the government, including the state in short. But also, we have a duty to assist the judiciary in all matters of justice and administration. So, Tiac, as one of the way of professionals, we decided that we need to have a body here inside that will be doing another job of arbitration. I know many members in the investment community, in the public, they need to settle their dispute amicably. They prefer not going for adversarial until when this stage is failed, then we can go there. Fortunate enough, we have an act of parliament which replaced the old one. So arbitration, apart from the civil procedures, now even the criminal aspect, now we have the law, we have the Legal Aid Act, is part of dispute settlement. So we said we better have this in place so that we are sure now we don't have the problem of going anywhere rather than using the big hub of knowledge which is here in dispute settlement. So that's why we have Tiac. And we started this following a board resolution which was made privileges ago, the president would say, and went through the stages until here we have. But in the implementation process to have this, I should straight away say thank you very much to Madira in Kimei. She's seated there. She really volunteered to develop the memos. I'm saying she volunteered because we didn't pay her what is supposed to be paid. We just paid her a token allowance, and this is a tradition of TLS members. And it was at a time when most of the non-government organizations and many other bodies which are not for profit, they were going through an act of parliament that they should all be registered as non-government organization. But for us, we said, no, we should go for the company, not for profit, limited by guaranteed, but we have to explain a bit to show that this helps investment in Tanzania. And she really struggled, then we got the go-ahead. So we have this. We have others in place. I should mention them before I sit down. We have other measures in place just to implement the TLS objectives. We have established, even this one under her support, the TLS Professional Enhancement Institute. It is in place, it has the people. Why this? This is a board of specialization. We know universities, they teach knowledge through theoretical aspect. We know the law school teaches a general practical aspect. But we established deliberately because we saw the gap of specialization. So people will be going through the law school as usual, etc. But when they come here, we need to have our specialized lawyers. This one also will be launched not too late from now, because we already have the law, we already have the board, we have the curriculum, the 5 modules which were developed in assistance with the curriculum development, NACTE. We have that. So when the board completes the process in collaboration with the TLS Governing Council, they will appoint a principal, and that's where now we can kick off. We are waiting for compensation for our plot which was taken in Dodoma. Then we will be able, when we get the money, we'll be able to buy a bigger space in Dodoma and establish that college. But this one, it will be a specialization and competence development. So the normal CRE sessions, yes, will go, but mostly will be taken there. We have others, the Wakili TV, which is there to disseminate information and knowledge and even to say what we do. We have developed secured stamps. Honorable guest of honor, with secured stamps here, we are scared of Vishoka. We are very scared of Vishoka because stamps of advocates are forged and so forth. Now we have these secured stamps, which is digitally secured. It is connected with terms and the Wakili database. TLS is getting nothing here rather than to help our members secure their stamps, so they will be just paying this. But the stamps, once it is there with the barcode, a person who has used the TLS stamp of an advocate will be able, one, to see who is an advocate, to see the status, even to know the specialization of an advocate, which is really very, very important. I urge our members to make sure that they enhance their database, to make sure that they feed all the information, even their specialization in their database, that they are doing it on their own, so that when there are stamps somewhere, a user of a stamp can be able to. Very recently, we'll be launching our circles just to help our members on the economic aspect, because we have seen this is a problem. We have printed we have discussed with the judiciary because the law reports are generated from judgments. So we don't see the need why TLS alone is doing. We have discussed with the Chief Justice, my president this cutters and spoken widely. We are expecting support from there. So that legal decisions are there and available everywhere. We ask your ministry, the government as well, to be part of it, because law reports, they are Tanganyika Law Society because they are just printed by Tanganyika Law Society, but they are decided by judges of the High Court. We have 2 versions which are already printed. We have 2 pending ones. Anytime when we get money, they will go out. So it is the buying aspect that delays us a little bit. So those are the few ones which I can say. If you look at our back there, we have the law firm forum. Now it is socially done, but very soon we will try as much as possible to regulate and be a formal body within TLS that will be helping law firms to conduct their business. With those few remarks, let me stop there. Colleague to do some of the parts which I have left. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. A young senator and a very young MD, Karibu sana, Mr. Ura. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen. I think I might enjoy just the mic for you too. No more.
Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Amoni Panju, TLS President, Professor Adr House-Dar, Tiac Board Chairperson, Dr. Rugemeleza Nshala, my brother and my senior, Mr. Caleb Gamaya, TLS CEO, Honorable retired judges, representatives from the embassies. I'm told we have a representative from the Embassy of Rwanda. We had a number of embassies that we expected to join us today. Senior counsels, distinguished guests, I welcome you to TLS and Tiac. I'm very excited today to have you all here. It is a special day for this young institution being launched before this group of distinguished guests. My role is very simple. It is only to invite the chairperson of the Board of Directors of Tanzania International Arbitration Center. I'll have time to interact with you in the later sessions. So in the interest of time, I will just leave it to the board chairperson. And that being said, I wish to welcome Dr. Rugemeleza Nshala to give his speech.
Yeah, good morning. Honorable Amoni Panju, the Deputy Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Constitution and Legal Affairs, Your Excellencies, representatives from the different embassies that are situated in Tanzania, the President of the Tanganyika Law Society, Professor Edward House-Dar, retired judges, senior government officers, development partners, fellow land friends, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be among you here to take part in this grand occasion and the opening of the newly established Tanzania International Arbitration Center, which is known as Tiac, abbreviated as Tiac. I thank the Almighty God for this day and for seeing that this institution that we are trying to create and ensure that is able to arbitrate domestic and international disputes in Tanzania is established and also starts operating. We feel humbled with the presence of the Deputy Permanent Secretary, and for this year, this is the second time we're having him here. We had him in Arusha during the TLS annual general meeting, and today we have here during the opening of this institution. Asante sana. In the year 2020 and 2021, we opened a new chapter in the practice of alternative dispute resolution in our country. ADR is another way of ensuring that people are accessing justice. And it's a way in which the parties are at the center of resolving the dispute. But you have an arbitrator that you trust, and you think that he or she will be able to arbitrate that kind of a dispute immediately, and for that matter, other things will be able to continue. And many in our country, we lack this kind of an institution. And it was so that in order to engender the required confidence in the administration of justice in our country, and also to ensure that international disputes are arbitrated here, you must have an independent, impartial, and competent institution that is arbitrating those kind of disputes. And it was seen that TLS will be the necessary institution to be able to create that kind of an institution. And eventually, that's what we thought it is important to establish Tanzania in the International Arbitration Center. And for that matter, with the coming of the new law, this was quite an opportune occasion. And for us, we moved forward, we moved our pace, and created a tier. So we think that with the kind of the competencies within the tier, we'll be able to arbitrate international disputes, domestic disputes, immediately and competently, and many people will trust us, and instead of this, they will rather be arbitrated here, and be able to ensure that we are trusted, and for that matter, we are as a country, we are able to engender the required confidence of the will-be investors and other parties to come and invest in our country, and also for that matter, they will know that whatever is decided will be decided competently and professionally, and not under any political pressure or other things. So Tiac is registered as a company limited by guarantee, and this was done in 2019. And as our sitting president will tell us more about the history and the wisdom of law society that we have embraced in the past has led us to this particular occasion of opening Tiac. The primary aim of Tiac is to reduce the burden on the judiciary so that justice can be effectively delivered and provided to the people with an alternative and time-efficient, cost-effective, and strictly confidential way of resolving their disputes amicably, and at the same time to engender the required confidence in our administration of justice. Tiac aims at activating an independent arbitration center that provides for professional arbitration and other dispute resolution services such as mediation to the private and public sector, and also at the community at large. So, being situated at TLS, this also creates it creates the confidence that is also required, because the TLS is an independent institution. It's a national bar association that is able to withstand all sorts of pressures, and for that matter, it is able to engender the required confidence. The objectives of Tiac include to promote commerce and trade by offering an effective and expedient mechanism for commercial dispute resolution, promote investment by reliable institution for mediation arbitration done in Tanzania for investment disputes in all sectors, and also to establish and foster the fullest understanding, awareness, and popularize the use of mediation, arbitration, and other ADR means. Also to promote and develop and facilitate a viable and sustainable practice of every ADR in commercial, investment, trade, and consumer disputes. And also, for that matter, ensure that this is accessed by people within Tanzania, East Africa, and internationally. Other secondary objectives include to compile information with regards to legislation, rules, and judicial decisions on arbitral decisions, and for that matter, act or aid with the ADR professionals in the response to current events and government initiatives to influence the future practice of mediation and the arbitration. And also to identify and lobby for effective legal and regulatory provisions, support mediation, arbitration, and other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Tiac operates in different ways, but the way it has been structured and its objectives, therefore, has been structured in furtherance of the above stated objectives. 3 years ago, I was privileged to be appointed by the Governing Council of TLS to be its immediate chair, because the president of the Tanganyika Law was supposed to be the chair of Tiac, and as the president of the Tanganyika Law, then I was asked to sit in as the board chair for 3 years. I think my time is almost running out. I should point out that my task and scope of my mandate, as I've already been spoken about, was to facilitate establishment and operation of the center, and the board I read as the same sentiments. I believe nothing more, nothing less, accept the challenge, because I believe my experience in the management and administration will be crucial to have the center established and take off at a required pace. We think that the board of Tiac is mandated to ensure the establishment, and from establishment, we had only 18 months to work on the structure and institutional setup of the center. That will take us to our first board election. This period reasonably counts from December 2019. We have slightly exceeded our time, but for a good cause. A well-established institution needs an all-round executive director. We appointed one in May 2020 for an interim period of 2 years, and we confirmed him for a period longer, for 5 years, just last month. We have reason to believe that as a board, that he has the ability to deliver on the center's strategy. Having in the back of our mind that our time is short and we cannot deliver on the long-term strategy of the center, we gave to you an interim strategy that one of our specialists, board member, Ms. Madeline Kimei, and the MD crafted, and the strategy will be presented by Madeline Kimei to you in a short order. So the future of Tiac needs a robust long-term strategy from 2023 with a midterm ending to 2027. So all of you will be involved. We'll be inviting your comments on how we can come up with a 5-year Tiac strategy, and for that matter, strategic plan, which will see us through that we are able now to be able to function effectively and competently. The board is also paying much attention to the center becoming a competitive and neutral arbitration center or venue in the African region, which admittedly is already very competitive with the likes of AFSA, the Cairo Center, Lagos, Kigali, Nairobi, and Mauritius centers. And for that matter, we need also to act competently, because our colleagues have moved their pace, they are functioning very well, and they have marketed themselves very well. So it's upon us to ensure that we have a very well-known arbitration center that is very competent, well run, and trusted. Many arbitral institutions have documented the challenges related to the dispute resolution in Africa, and on the law case law, which is not alien to Tiac. However, we sincerely not believe that in the Tiac board that this holds water for African dispute resolution system and a variable mechanism. We believe that Tanzania is able to bring in a new perspective in dispute resolution through ADR and also ensure that even make us trusted internationally, that we have a competent arbitration center that is able to arbitrate international disputes here within our continent. Within Tiac board, we have been driven up by international ADR practice, and for that reason we have challenged ourselves, no matter how small our resources are, to take up international image that our name portrays. For that reason, we have in place rules of procedure approved by the board that display basic standards in international ADR practice. ADR practice, particular arbitration, is highly international. Tiac board is capitalizing on that. The board recently adopted rules that reflect development in the global scale. Still, the Tiac board is engaging development in the building up of regional international partnerships. We are all informed of the development partnerships and collaboration with the highly developed arbitration centers that I've already mentioned. I'm also proud and comfortable to hear that we have given the government we have received from the government a good cooperation. We have worked along with the government institutions and the officers to basically conduct the trainings necessary to various members of TLS and the members of Tiac, and now are going to be accredited and be identified as arbitrators. They'll now be registered as arbitrators. Through this, we believe that more people will find that this is another avenue of practicing their law, and for that matter, they will also embrace arbitration, mediation, and other forms of ADR as part of their legal practice, and will no longer be the province of only limited members of the bar. So with those few remarks, I just want to thank you very much, and at the same time, I wish to welcome the President of Tanganyika Law Society, Professor Osea, to come and address us. Asante, sir.
And Professor Hossein, you also have the honor of welcoming the guests of honor. Ladies and gentlemen, your hands, please.
Thank you, Taji Liundi, our master of ceremony. You're always good at it, and thank you for being here with us. Honorable Amon Mpanju, the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Minister of Constitutional and Legal Affairs, Dr. Rugemeleza Nshala, our Tiac Board Chair, and the former President of TLS, TLS leadership present, Excellencies, High Commissioners present, and the members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honorable retired judges, TLS past presidents, Mr. Caleb Gamaya, our CEO, Mr. Alphonse Igura, our MD Tiac, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. My job is to invite the guest of honor, but before I do that, let me say a few words in respect of this launch, and in particular, a little background on the establishment of Tiac and the role that the Tanganyika Law Society had played to foster the launch that we are launching today. We all know globally that all law societies or bar associations have an interest to ensure that ADR, alternative dispute resolution, is an important pillar in its operations and the realization of justice to all. And therefore, Tanganyika Law Society is not behind in propelling this process to ensure that in Tanzania we have this important center, the Tanzania International Arbitration Center. The previous leadership of Tanganyika Law Society had looked from different angles, in particular looking at the Singapore Dispute Resolution Center, in particular arbitration centers. They looked, for example, the Rwanda and the South Africa experience. And all this was an information that was relevant to the previous governing council of Tanganyika Law Society to ensure that eventually we reach this journey of an establishment of Tanzania International Arbitration Center. As we all know, a number of players have participated to this journey until we have reached this far. The Tanganyika Law Society, as a legal profession body, has worked together with a number of partners and the players to ensure that we are able at least to come to the realization of this international center. First, the Tanganyika Law Society was active in the establishment of the Institute of Arbitrators in the late 90s, and some of our members made the first panel of neutrals for this particular center. So really, it goes back to show you that Tanganyika Law Society has continued to play a role to ensuring that alternative dispute resolution in our country is a success and therefore is realizable. In mid-2000, Tanganyika Law Society became so active, and they presented to the government an alternative bill known as Arbitration Bill of 2000. They incorporated the good practices to ensure that the government is given an opportunity to reconsider the possibility of having this particular alternative dispute resolution mechanism. The support was rendered by the Prime Minister's office through the Business Environment Strengthening in Tanzania BEST program, as it is known, and therefore the management of TLS worked with the government to ensure that the bill or ideas towards the bill are in the process. Later on, the Tanganyika Law Society annual general meeting made a decision to adopt an arbitration clause that would make the Tanganyika Law Society president as an appointing authority, and this in order to bridge the gap that was quite glaring at the time. At the time, as we remember, there were so many commercial interests and the privatization that was taking place in the country towards economic liberalization policies became a reality for Tanganyika Law Society to chip in and ensure they are knocking the door of the government to consider the possibility of having this particular institution. I'd like to acknowledge some of the past presidents of Tanganyika Law Society who inspired this process and worked so tirelessly with the leadership at the time to ensure that this momentous occasion we are able to realize. In 2014, under the leadership of President Rechungura then, the strategy that was put in place, the 2015-2019 TLS strategy, this particular agenda was high during that particular moment. They mobilized resources, and at that time I'm told President Rechungura was even thinking of registering an outfit that would concentrate on the modern rules to meet the global standards and forge ahead for this establishment of this particular institute. In the same year, 2015, Tanganyika Law Society was approached for partnership with the CAJAC from China to establish a regional arbitration center in East Africa, to be the second after success in establishment of similar centers in Johannesburg and South Africa, and I'm told in Rwanda as well. The agreement was that Tanganyika Law Society should have a center running by the year 2016. Unfortunately, this dream was not realized as the opportunity was seized by Nairobi Center for International Arbitration. Nonetheless, efforts were made, and I'd like to acknowledge not only President Rwechungura, but also Madame Madeleine Kimei, a seasoned arbitrator practitioner in the country, was retained by Tanganyika Law Society as a consultant to guide the TLS Governing Council towards the establishment of this particular center. And Madame Kimei, through her consultative process, she developed the first set of rules and a strategy in 2017 were laid before the Governing Council of President Lisu and later on Ngwilimi, and they are endorsed through the Governing Council, that is strategy. And really we commend the past leadership for this dream as far as establishment of this center. In 2018, Tanganyika Law Society again aggressively embarked on the establishment and the registering a center known as Salaam International Arbitration and Mediation Center, DMAC. And this was under the leadership of President Fatuma Karume and her General Governing Council to ensure that this dream becomes a reality. Nonetheless, other changes took place through the consultation with Madame Kimei, TLS and the TPSF. They made every step and negotiated. Nonetheless, they were not successful at that particular time, and therefore it brought about a partnership between TCC, CTI, and the TIC. At the time, towards the establishment of Tiac, the ministry also, the Ministry of Constitutional and Legal Affairs, was also busy harmonizing a number of programs, and in particular, to ensure we have a new arbitration regime through legislative process. The ministry, in consultation with Tanganyika Law Society and the other stakeholders, were able to submit a bill before the Parliament, and eventually the Parliament enacted the Arbitration Act of 2020. So, in a nutshell, what we are saying is that the Tanganyika Law Society, as one of the key stakeholders, had worked with other stakeholders, including the ministry and the other private and NGO institutions, to ensure that the journey that we had traveled, a number of stakeholders were part of this process. The Tiac operations were halted until March this year, when the new regulations came into force. And I'm privileged as one of the presidents of Tanganyika Law Society and my governing council to be part of this dream, and today we are launching the Tiac. At this moment, I would like to share with you that Tiac solely depends on TLS resources, which are not sufficient. And we want to have a modern, regional, competitive arbitration center. So I seize this opportunity to call upon the government on the one hand, and our development partners to see fit that they assist the center to be able to move forward and make an impact not only in Tanzania but in the region and globally. That being said, it is now my singular pleasure and honor to invite and welcome our guest of honor, Honorable Amon Mpanju, to come to the podium and address this audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. Please give your hands, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome our chief guest to speak.
Kama uliota vile. Honorable Prof. Adr Service, TLS President, Honorable Dr. Rugemeleza Nshala, you are all honorables, so don't be surprised. The Tiac chairperson, board chairperson, my colleague Caleb Gamaya, Chief Executive Officer TLS, Mr. Alphonse Gura, Managing Director Tiac, Honorable Judges, Excellence Ambassadors and members of Diplomatic Corps present, Dr. Kapinga, Lendi brothers and sisters here present, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. Good morning. I would like to deliver my speech in Swahili, and I've been asked by members of the media, but also as a person from the government, and as you know, we are embarking the process of ensuring that Swahili gain that status within and outside, especially in the legal profession. And as long as you have heard the background to the establishment of Tiac, we have got good speech from Dr. Rugemeleza Nshala, Professor Osea, MD, and the CEOs. And the calling has been made to the international arena that in Tanzania will have the Tiac. You are all welcome to use the Tiac for investment and business settlements. That being said, naomba niende na Kiswahili, si ndio? And I hope even those who are following this event from UK and wherever, they have to learn Swahili, because we'll be using the two languages in their Tiac. Si ndio? Ni wandani na nje bwana. Mabibi na mabwana, kwanza nitumie wasahau kuungana na watangulizi walioeleza kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu aliyetuwezesha na kuturuzuku uhai. Tumeweza kukutana hapa leo hii kwenye tukio muhimu na la kihistoria katika upatikanaji haki na utatuzi wa migogoro mbalimbali ya kibiashara na uwekezaji ndani na nje ya nchi. Na pili, nitumie wasahau kwa niaba ya uongozi wa Wizara ya Katiba na Sheria kuwashukuru sana uongozi wa Chama cha Wanasheria Tanganyika TLS na uongozi wa bodi wa Tiac kwa kutualika tuwe sehemu ya historia katika sekta ya upatikanaji haki ya kushuhudia na kushiriki rasmi katika uzinduzi wa kituo chetu cha kimataifa cha usuluhishi. Tunashukuru kwa kutualika na hongereni sana TLS kwa hatua hii kubwa. Pia nitumie wasahau kushukuru sana kazi nzuri inayofanywa na TLS. Watendaji, ili wanalisema na nadhani wenda nisieleweke sana kwa mawakili, tuna watendaji wazuri kwenye chama chetu cha TLS. Tunaye Caleb Gamaya na wenzake, ni mawakili wenzetu, lakini wanafanya kazi nzuri sana kwa sababu TLS ya miaka 10 iliyopita sio TLS ya leo, si ndio? Sote si tunakubali? Najua susiwe na wivu, mtu msifiwa akiwa hai. Sio tunambeba mnapeleka kwenye kaburi, hawasikii, sifa ndo zinakuwa nyingi. Na ni utamaduni mbaya wa Tanzania. TLS ya miaka 10 imebadilika, huo ndo kweli, si ndio? Mambo aliyoeleza hapa Caleb Gamaya, plans, kwanza kuwa na ile jengo la kwetu la Wakili House, si ndio? Tuna Tiac. Sasa wanatuongelea kuanzisha chuo cha mafunzo cha Adr Dodoma. Si ndio dream zetu kuona taaluma inakuwa, mawakili wanapata ubobezi kwenye maeneo mbalimbali, si ndio dream zetu? Sasa tuwasifie wakiwa hai. Na nyinyi mnasifiana mkiwa hai. Kwa hiyo kwa niaba ya Katiba na Sheria tunapongeza TS, tunapongeza uongozi wako Mheshimiwa Rais Profesa Hosea na watangulizi wako kama ulivyowataja Profesa Hosea kwenye hotuba zako kwenda mpaka 15 wote wakina Mheshimiwa Tundu Lissu na waliofuata wakina Rwechungura wote, kwa sababu hiki kilichozinduliwa leo kimelelewa, kimeendelezwa mpaka tunakuwa na mtoto kamili leo, si ndio? Kwa hiyo tunawapongeza nyote pamoja na consultant Wakili Model kwa kazi nzuri. Tunawapongeza kwa sababu sisi Wizara ya Katiba na Sheria walikuja TLS zaidi ya miaka 6 imepita na wazo hili, wakatuomba tutunge sheria ya usuluhishi. Tumelichakata, tukalifanyia kazi na hatimaye mwaka jana tukaweza kutunga hiyo sheria. Kwa ile sheria uwepo wake ni efforts za mawakili wa Tanganyika. Na kiuhalisia TLS sasa mnatimiza malengo ya kuwepo. It is now a professional entity. Yani ni chama cha mawakili cha kitaaluma. Tunaanza kudeliver as to the act. Kwa sababu ushahidi ni uanzishwaji wa Tiac. Ni zao la kwenu. Mlitushauri kama alivyosema Rais kwamba moja ya jukumu la TLS ni kuishauri serikali. Sasa lazima tutumie utaalamu wenu, si ndio? Katika kuhakikisha tunaboresha mifumo ya upatikanaji haki hapa nchini. Mlitushauri na limekuwa na sasa hivi we are making another history ya kuanzishwa kwa Tiac. Kiongeleni sana TLS. Lakini la pili, tunawapongeza kwa sababu sasa tunapanua wigo wa upatikanaji haki. Kwa sababu jukumu la utoaji haki kama tunavyofahamu kwa mujibu wa katiba ni la mahakama, si ndio? Lakini sisi TLS kama maafisa na kama sehemu ya mfumo wa upatikanaji haki, kwa kuwa na Tiac tunapanua wigo wa utatuzi wa migogoro kwa njia mbadala ambayo ina faida sana katika uchumi na maendeleo ya nchi, kwa misingi kwamba kwa kuwa na utatuzi wa migogoro kwa njia mbadala inarahisisha ufikikaji wa haki kwa wakati, lakini inarahisisha na kuendeleza juhudi za serikali za uwekezaji hapa nchini na ufanyaji biashara bila changamoto nyingi. Na hii pia inachangia katika mpango wa taifa wa maendeleo wa miaka 5 ambao umejielekeza kwamba serikali itaweka mazingira wezeshi na mazingira rafiki kwa ajili ya ufanyaji biashara na uwekezaji. Sasa kwa TLS kuzindua Tiac inavutia wafanyabiashara na wawekezaji wa ndani na nje ya nchi kwamba sasa tunayo mifumo ambayo itatusaidia kutatua migogoro pasipokuwa una lazima wa kwenda mahakamani, ambako kama tujuavyo kuna taratibu nyingi kule, si ndio? Kuna za kiufundi, kuna mashauri kuchukua muda mrefu, lakini kwa kuzinduliwa kwa kituo hiki ambacho kitajikita katika usuluhishi, lakini pia nimefurahi kwamba kitajikita katika upatanishi, migogoro mingi kwa watu ambao wanapenda biashara na uwekezaji itakuwa ikiletwa huko pamoja na vituo vingine ambavyo nitavieleza hapa ambavyo tayari vimeshapata ithibati na hata ambavyo vitaanzishwa. Kwa tutachangia katika ile jukumu na lengo kubwa la serikali la kuwa na mfumo wa upatikanaji haki ambao ni wa haraka na wa gharama nafuu, lakini ambao hausababishi changamoto nyingi za kiufundi kwa watu wetu. Kwa hiyo TLS ndio maana tunasema sisi kama serikali tumefurahi kwa sababu sasa tunapanua wigo wa upatikanaji haki, kuhakikisha wananchi wetu wanapata haki kwa wakati na hatimaye wanatumia muda mwingi katika kujiletea maendeleo, kufanya biashara, kufanya shughuli zao badala ya kutumia miaka mingi kwenda mahakamani kuitafuta haki. Lakini licha ya hiyo kwamba tutapunguza muda, gharama za uendeshaji wa mashauri na kadhalika, lakini pia tunachangia kwenye lengo na misingi mikuu ya kuendeleza amani, utulivu na mtengamano hapa nchini kwa maslahi mapana ya Tanzania wote. Kwa sababu migogoro inaenda mahakamani, sote ni mawakili na wengine ni wadau katika mfumo wa upatikanaji haki, imekuwa ikichukua muda mrefu, si ndio? Sasa kwa kufanya hivyo watu wanapoteza muda mwingi ambao ungetumia kujiletea maendeleo kwenye kuitafuta haki. Lakini kwa kuwa na mfumo huu ambao umetokana na utunzi wa sheria mpya ya usuluhishi ya mwaka jana iliyotungwa na Bunge la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania pamoja na marekebisho yaliyofanyika kwenye Civil Procedure Act na Criminal Procedure Act, yanatoa mwanya wa kutumia njia nyingine nyingi ambazo zimekuwa zikiletwa na serikali katika kuhakikisha wananchi wetu wanapata haki kwa wakati na kwa gharama nafuu. Kama nilivyoeleza hapo awali, Tiac inaungana na taasisi nyingine ambazo zimeshaanzishwa. Tuna TIARB, tuna NSSF, tuna iResolve, na pia sisi kama Tanzania tunaenda kuanzisha kituo cha kitaifa ambacho kitakuwa Arusha cha usuluhishi. Kimechukua muda kwa sababu kinahitaji kuinvolve wadau wengi ili tuweze kufikia mwafaka, lakini haya yote ni ushahidi kwamba kama nchi tumeamua kutumia mifumo yote ya upatikanaji haki kuhakikisha tunachangia katika maendeleo ya nchi yetu, lakini tunaweka mifumo mizuri ya utatuzi wa migogoro ambayo ni mwafaka na inajibu mahitaji ya wananchi wetu, wawekezaji na jukwaa la kimataifa. Lakini vile vile nitumie wasaa huu kuwasihi sana. Kwanza sisi ambao tumeanzisha, yani ina maana mawakili, kwamba ni kweli tumeenda kwenye kuwa na Tiac na kutakuwa na vyombo vingine vingi ambavyo vina embrace hii ADR katika utatuzi wa migogoro. Lakini ni wasihi sana tuwekeze kwenye ubobezi, tuwe weledi ili tuweze kweli kudhihirisha kwamba uwepo wa Tiac itakuwa ni jibu na suluhisho la utatuzi wa migogoro ya ndani na nje. Tumemsikia rais wetu anasema lengo ni Tiac ifanye kazi hiyo kwa uadilifu na kwa umakini kwa migogoro yote ya ndani, Afrika Mashariki na Afrika, si ndio? Lakini ili twende huko lazima tuwekeze katika ubobezi na weledi wetu. Kwa sababu lengo sio tu tubaki ni hapa, hapana. Tupenyeze kwenye majukwaa kama haya usuluhishi na utatuzi wa migogoro ya kimataifa, ili mwisho wa siku haitatoa ajira tu kwa mawakili na wataalamu wetu, lakini pia itatoa mwanya wa sisi kuonyesha ubobezi wetu katika majukwaa kama hayo kimataifa, lakini pia kulinda maslahi mapana ya nchi yetu. Tunaelewana ndugu zangu? Kwa hiyo ni wasihi sana uongozi wa TLS tuwekeze kwenye kuandaa watu wawe wabobezi, wawe wajuzi, ili tutatue migogoro yote inayokuja hapa nchini, lakini tupenyeze kwenye majukwaa kama haya ya kimataifa ili tuweze create ajira kwanza, lakini kuonyesha bobezi wetu, lakini pia kulinda maslahi ya nchi yetu, kwa sababu kweli ni kwamba tumekuwa tukishtakiwa kwenye majukwaa kama haya kimataifa. Sasa ni tukiwa na watu wetu weledi, ni rahisi kusimama na hatimaye kuokoa hela nyingi ambazo zinaenda nje zikatumika kwa maendeleo ya nchi yetu. Tunaelewana ndugu zangu? Tunaelewana? Mbona unaitikia meza kuu? Huku naongea lugha ieleweki. I'm told hata balozi aliyepo ni wa Rwanda. Kwa hiyo nikiongea Kiswahili anielewa vizuri sana. Au mlitaka niongee kwa Kiingereza? Si mnanielewa? Lakini nitumie jukwaa hili kuwasihi sana TLS na wanazuoni mliopo, Dr. Kapinga na hata hitaji judges, Dr. Tribe nyie mnafundisha vyuo vikuu, tushauri vyuo vyetu kuwekeza sana katika eneo hili. Mfumo na mafunzo ya ADR yanayotolewa hayaendani na uhalisia na mahitaji ya sasa na ya kidunia. Sasa nitoe rai kwa niaba ya serikali kwamba kwenye vyuo vyetu, vyuo vikuu na hata vyuo vingine, itengenezwe mitaala pamoja na juhudi za TLS za kuanzisha chuo kule Dodoma. Itengenezwe mitaala itakayowaandaa mawakili na Watanzania kuwa bobezi kwenye eneo hili, ili tutumie huu mwanya kuhakikisha Watanzania wanapata haki kwa wakati na kwa gharama nafuu. Tumeelewana ndugu zangu? Lakini pia ni TLS. Najua kuna haja ya kureflect kwenye utaratibu wetu wa uongozi wa TLS, ili uwe ni ule uongozi unaodeliver. Na ili niliseme, najua siwezi kueleweka sana, lakini unaweza ukaona mnakuwa na one term president, one year president. Mambo mazuri kama haya yasipopata watendaji wazuri ofisini, kama ni hii fashion ya mwaka mmoja mnatoka mnaingia, sidhani kama tutakuwa na matunda mazuri zaidi ya hapo. Nadhani kuna haja ya kuanza kufikiria, kwa sababu sisi ndo tunachagua. Mnachagua, muangalie uwezekano wa kuchagua mtu atakayewavusha, si ndio? Lakini huyo mtu awepo angalau kwa miaka 2 au 3, tumuhold accountable. Yaani tuwe na governing council ambayo itaanzisha jambo liende, alafu ya county kwenu kwamba mlitupa miaka 3, these are the what we have delivered, si ndio? Lakini ya kuingia hujakaa sawa umeondoka. Yaani kama una watendaji wazuri tutarudi kule miaka ya nyuma huko. Kwa hiyo niwaombe mliangalia, lakini wakati mkiliangalia hili, na sisi wizara tuko tayari kushirikiana na nyie, tutafute the best modality ya kuwa na uongozi ambao unaacha landmarks, si ndio? Unaacha landmarks kwa ajili ya chama chetu na kwa ajili ya professional, lakini kwa ajili ya maslahi mapana ya Watanzania. Na pia ni wasi, hapa tuna governing board, a board of director Tiac, si ndio? Hawa bwana inabidi uhakikishe huyu mtoto anakuwa na anaendelezwa kwa malengo ya kuanzishwa kwake, si ndio? Sasa mimi ni ushauri, hawa governing body mnawarefrain wasio wagombeaji wa TLS, ili wao jukumu lao ni kuendeleza hii board, si ndio? Yani lazima tuwe na mipaka, tuepuke conflict of interest. Kwa kuanzisha it was okay, Dr. Nshala ukawa na siti na meenda na kina wakili Madeline na wakili Mpoki na wakili CP Nicholas, tunawapongeza, mmetutengenezea jambo mpaka mtoto leo tunamuona, si ndio? Lakini lazima tuwe na a profession board of directors solely there for the Tiac to prosper, si ndio? Huku mambo ya governing council waendeleage huko. Sasa ni juu ya kuamua, wewe ukiingia huko kwenye board of director, basi ujue kule umefungwa. Kule waendelee wengine, wapo wengi, si ndio? Ni thinking ya kujipanga ili to deliver, si ndio ndugu zangu? Mimi ni mawazo tunatoa, na ndio maana kunikaribisha kwa mgeni rasmi lazima tutoe ya kwetu, si ndio? Lakini na sisi serikali tunawiwa kuona TLS ambayo inaenda kwa malengo na inatimiza jukumu lake kadiri ya uwepo wake. Tunaelewana ndugu zangu? That being said, mimi nilikuwa ni kulaunch na ni wapongeze kwa sababu kilichofanyika ni kusheneza na kuendeleza lengo kuu na dira ya Wizara ya Katiba na Sheria, ambayo ni kuwa na katiba na sheria wezeshi kwa maendeleo ya nchi yetu, na lengo la sekta ambayo ni kuwa na mifumo mwafaka ya utatuzi wa migogoro. Kwa hiyo kilichofanyika leo cha Tiac tunakipongeza, na sisi kwa niaba Wizara ya Katiba na Sheria, kwa niaba ya serikali tuko tayari kushirikiana na nyie na taasisi nyingine zote kuhakikisha Tiac na vyombo vingine ikiwemo TIRB, NCC, iResolve na vingine vitakavyoanzishwa, tunatumia mfumo wa utatuzi wa migogoro na usuluhishi wa migogoro katika kuhakikisha tunapanua wigo wa wananchi kuzifikia haki kwa wakati na kwa gharama nafuu, na hatimaye kupunguza mlundikano wa mashauri mahakamani, lakini na muda unaotumika katika kuitafuta haki. Baada ya kuyasema haya, nisiseme ni machache, huenda ni mengi. Ninaomba nitamke rasmi pamoja kwamba tumeshazindua kwamba Tanzania International Arbitration Center imezinduliwa rasmi leo tarehe 16 mwezi wa 10 2021. Naongereni sana na asanteni kwa kunisikiliza.
Asante sana mgeni wetu rasmi, naomba tukupigie makofi mengine. Inapendeza kuwa na mgeni rasmi ambaye anaelewa masuala haya kwa undani zaidi. Anaweza kutoa ushauri mzuri, kwanza wake binafsi, pili labda kwa muhimu zaidi akazungumza kwa niaba ya serikali. Kwa hiyo tumefurahishwa na mengi ambayo umeyazungumza na ushauri ambao umeutoa, na tunasema it augurs well for the center kwamba tunaye mgeni rasmi ambaye ni quote unquote rafiki na mwelewa, na naamini kwamba kila mara tukihitaji ushauri wako na uwepo wako, mwisho mgeni rasmi utatupa heshima hiyo. Asante sana, karibu. Sasa kuna kazi ambayo imefanywa kubwa kihistoria kama ambavyo umesikia. We've had good work that's been done over the years since 2015. Wahusika kuanzia germination ya idea, kupanda mbegu ya wazo hili, a little bit of a challenge hapo katikati, lakini hatimaye leo umetuzindulia. Today you've launched this for us. Tungependa acknowledge, kuwatambua baadhi ya watu, individuals ambao and sponsors ambao wameweza kufanikisha hili. Kwa hiyo nitakuomba Mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi, kwa muda mfupi ni kushushe na meza kuu, tusimame mbele ya meza hii, alafu tuweze kutoa nishani za aina mbalimbali, kuanzia vyeti, tuzo na plaques ambazo baadhi wapo hapa, baadhi hawapo, na in absentia tutawapigia makofi. Asante kwa kuni ongozea. Plaque maalum, beautiful in the colors of blue, the different hues of blue, from the Tanganyika Law Society and Tiac. Recognition. This trophy is proudly presented to Madeline Kimei in recognition of your outstanding commitment and contribution to the Tanzania International Arbitration Center Tiac launched today. Very true. Sasa naomba tupige picha nyingine ya aina ya kipekee ambapo utasimama kushoto kwa mgeni rasmi. Kwa hiyo tunatengeneza nafasi kati ya wewe na Profesa Hosea. Hiyo nyingine ilikuwa ni kama ya graduation za shule. Makofi kwa mara nyingine tena, hongera sana. The following trophy is presented to Mpale K. Mpoki in recognition of your outstanding commitment and contribution to the Tanzania International Arbitration Center. Mpale Mpoki. Okay, sawa. Asante, tumepigia makofi. This is presented to Dr. Regemeleza Albert Kamuhabwa Nshala. So from the high table, you simply assume a different position and you will return to your original position. Naomba nikurejeshe kwenye nafasi yako. Naomba uishike, tupate ile picha ukiwa umeshikilia proudly. Asante sana, nashukuru sana. Thank you for the smile. You may place that in front of you. Picha zote zitaonekana hapa. This is presented to Nicholas Montumba Frederick Duhia. I think in absentia. Is that correct? Makofi mabibi moja. We continue. Past presidents. These are certificates of recognition. Certificate of appreciation proudly presented to Charles Rutayuga Butchered Rechungura in recognition of your outstanding commitment and contribution to the Tanzania International Arbitration Center. Hajafika. Please, makofi tafadhali. John Beniel Seka. John Beniel Seka. Ah, super. Karibu sana, John. Tukachukua chini kule tuilete ulio baadaye watu wakitoka tunawasanitize wote. All right. Asante sana. Aha, na picha hiyo rasmi na meza kuu. Wakati picha hiyo inapigwa, smiles all around. Godwin Simba Ngwelimi. Godwin Simba Ngwelimi. Are you here with us? Okay, makofi acknowledged. Tundu Antipas Mugwai Lisu. Obviously not here with us. Fatma Amani Karume. They should be watching through the link, right? Ah, yes. Professor Edward G. Hosea. All right, zinazofuata ni trainer certificates. Kama ambavyo tulisikia within the speeches. This is in recognition of your outstanding commitment to the Tanzania International Arbitration Center, Honorable Judge Retired Robert V. Makaramba. Iko sawa. Eh? Yes, yes. Afu naomba wakirudi tuwa sanitize wote. Okay, sawa. Dunstan Shimbo. Hayupo, hajafika eh? Msajili wako. Msajili wa media mfumo mzima. Safi kabisa. Asante kwa kumtambua. George Mandepo. George Mandepo. Mwakilishi yupo, a representative. All right, acknowledged. Griffin Mwakapeje. Griffin Mwakapeje. Mwakilishi?
Na wewe ni mkurugenzi wangu, ndio katiba na sheria na simamia mfumo mzima wa.
Safi kabisa. Na hisi sijui tumpe mgeni rasmi hizi baadaye atawa. Ah, yes. Jackson Odiambo Koyugi. Karibu sana, Jackson. All right, please join the, yes, safi kabisa. Wakati wa picha hiyo, Dr. Clement Julius Mashamba. All right, Asha Sabrina Ayub. Asha Sabrina Ayub. Makofi kwa. Edith Michael Mtweve. Edith Michael Mtweve. Hi. Caleb L. Gamaya. All right, so we move on to the sponsors. Very important. You can see they're spread all around the room. They are banners, and we wish to acknowledge we're proud to be associated, and thank you for your sponsorship. Law Hill Company and Advocates for sponsoring the official launch of Tiac. Look at how young they are these days. Young and brilliant. Bowman's Tanzania Limited. Aha, kumbe the old guards still stand, eh? Asanteni sana, we truly appreciate it. Intern, Godwin Attorneys. Godwin Attorneys. And I must say, the young lady was the very first in the room at just about 7:30. Now that's speaking about punctuality. You saw all the makeup they were doing to the room. Kwa wamejifunza tricks zetu za maandalizi. Asante, hongereni sana. Tanzania Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Taasisi. And finally, ABC Attorneys. ABC Attorneys. Did our sponsors make it? All right, now tuwapige makofi. And so once again, Bowman's Tanzania Limited, Law Hill and Company Advocates, Godwin Attorneys, Tanzania Association of Oil Marketing Companies, and ABC Attorneys, tunawashukuru sana sana sana. We return our high table back to their seats, and we are sanitizing them as we've been shaking hands, and that's COVID consciousness. Yes, exactly. We'll pass around at each table. And we're also going to be passing around the pledge forms right now. As you've noticed, we're moving into the second important part of the program, ladies and gentlemen. Asanteni wote kwa contribution yenu. And remember, I still have a story to tell you that should inspire you once the pledge forms come to your table. Kwa hiyo, naomba tukae tayari kusikiliza hiyo. So, duly acknowledged and also recognized this morning, Ms. Madeline Kimei, the TIAC Director and Consultant. Congratulations. And now we'd love to hear from you on the TIAC transition strategy, 2021, 2022, and probably also the salient features of the TIAC arbitration rules. I think you'll be on the same stage with Mr. Alphonse Gura for that one. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, your hands. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Taji, for this well-moderated session, making this particular auspicious launch event even more homely for us all here physically and those who have joined us on the virtual platforms. Maybe before I begin, all protocols having been observed, and with special recognition to the Honorable Mpanju, our Honorable President of the Tanganyika Law Society, Dr. Hosea, our Honorable Chairperson of the this is the Tanzania International Arbitration Center, Dr. Nshala, of course, recognizing also the Managing Director, Mr. Alphonse Gura, who, along with our very, I don't know how to call Mr. Caleb Kamaya, our CEO, because he's not only a friend, but also our really strong right arm, because his leadership brought about the engagement of myself as being a consultant in developing this strategy that I'm going to be presenting you. So distinguished guests, allow me to do so at this point in time. The transition strategy is really more focused on the first and the second year of operation. And why have we concentrated on the transition strategy? Because as we all know, the first years of a baby are the most important of it all, to setting the right foundation. I have not prepared any notes or speeches because I know it at the back of my hands. We worked on it since 2015, I think, along with the TLS team. And so although we've been tweaking or teething for quite a while, I think it's a solid strategy, considering that we have put in mind what has been echoed by all the speakers that have come before me. That is impartiality, independence, neutrality, and also modern. Modern in a means not only by being modern by its looks, because we can really attest to it. The offices are pretty impressive. However, modern in not only innovating, having the right case management softwares, but also modern in having the right resources and the right framework that is formed on the pillars of the international standards that we all can see the other regional centers on my slide there have. What do these other regional strong arm centers have? Their main, of course, I'm still on the first slide, their main focus when they were being brought about is to ensure that they're aligned to the very welcomed UNICITRAL model arbitration rules. And so this is really where we also aligned ourselves to and borrowed leaf from those that have been well established around us and globally as well, not only just regionally, but globally. So we were established in December 2019. The corporate structure that we took about was the corporate company limited by guarantee. And you would ask yourself, why a company limited by guarantee? It all goes back to the concept of having to remain independent and not having any ownership element to that institution, because that would really eat away the legitimacy and the integrity of the institution. Remember the foundational concept that was also addressed by Dr. Nshala and followed on by our Honorable Mpanju, that trust is what the end user wants. The end users, meaning the parties in a dispute, whether arising from an investment dispute or an international arbitration or a domestic arbitration, whether be it local or international, their main concern is having an independent, trustworthy, and cost-efficient institutional support to administering that particular arbitration or dispute resolution mechanism. And so the company limited by guarantee, I observed after studying not only the ICC, where I serve as a board member, but also I've observed other institutions such as the Kigali International Arbitration Center, we observed the Nairobi Center of International Arbitration. These two are very much different, being that they have very good support from the government, injecting in funds and also enabling them in different forms or so. With the CIRCA, which is the Cairo International Commercial Arbitration Center that is based in Cairo, and falling second in a report that I will touch on later, is their structure is slightly more different, and they've been on the continent for quite a long time. And so borrowing lift from them as well brought in that element of the fact that we should have our way as a company limited by guarantee. And so as a company limited by guarantee, we do have a board of directors, and the board of directors is already established at this point in time. And of course, as rightly put forward by my previous speaker, that this board needs to be much more diverse, considering different fields of expertise coming onto the board, so that the board can borrow leaf from those people. Not only does the board have an advisory board composition, but also it is anticipating to have a court of arbitration. And this came about when we were finalizing the arbitration rules. And we asked ourselves, okay, so what happens if there's a challenge to an arbitrator? Where is the decision-making body? Who are we going to be giving it to? If there's a challenge to an arbitrator or a need for a replacement of an arbitrator, who would be the ones charged with that particular task or assignment? And so we came up with this concept of a court of arbitration that would maintain a Chinese wall between itself and the board, because you don't want to get into their decision-making process. And also that particular court of arbitration, those members in that court of arbitration will also be able to control other elements of the arbitration process, such as the costs element. So trying to arrange, at least minimize the cost from being too much. Moving on to maybe speaking about the vision of the Tanzania International Arbitration Center. The vision is in front of you, and it says that to be recognized as the first choice for arbitration and mediation in East Africa. So we've focused in on the regional aspect of things, but this doesn't refrain us from breaking those boundaries and moving on to other international arenas. And the mission statement itself also speaks for itself by saying to enhance the role of arbitration and other dispute resolution mechanisms as a self-independent system, spreading the ADR culture, and to develop and facilitate the training of new generation of arbitrators and mediators. Now, this particular mission really does speak to the actual direction or the roadmap that we have and that we would see later on, because the environment has now been enabled by this new law that came about in 2020, and of course new policies that are being worked on by the ministry will also work hand in hand with this mission in terms of creating the ADR culture that we are all aspiring to live in. Meaning that not only are we thinking of arbitration, but we're also speaking of the mediation that is coming up to become actually replacing arbitration, even in the international investment arbitration space. And so the mission itself really will transcend over that time that we are moving on towards. The objectives, quite a big list there, but the first one is important because it is to promote, develop, and facilitate the understanding of the use and practice of these mechanisms. And this is really what the Tiac has already started in its 18 months of operation. This is important because you're setting the foundation itself. Remember, we needed these people who would be adjudicating, or at least being in a position to facilitate resolution of disputes as mediators or as arbitrators, have to be well trained, because the quality of that end result will really come back to the institution. The institution itself, building itself in this community, will depend on the quality of the works that come out from its resources. And so building that is of utmost importance. I won't go through the other objectives, so I'll move on to the next slide. And the next slide is on the ADR service model. So when we were crafting this strategy, we came about or bumped into two kinds of models, and we opted to adopt both models. One model was the freestanding model, and the other one was the justice model. Why? I am for the free market standing model, but when we were deliberating, and I think even when my colleagues were going through the write-up, we came to understand that we need the judiciary. We need the court referrals for Tiac to pick up at a pace that otherwise other institutions wouldn't. And that court referral element is the justice model. And so we came about having to adapt both models in our strategy. That is the justice model and also the freestanding model. The freestanding model is more market-based, where we expect the private user to come in and file their request. And then the justice model is where you find, for example, in our CPC, the Civil Procedure Code, has the element of a court-annexed function, and that function now, I think, with the amendments that happened in 2019, what happens there is that the court may refer to an external neutral that has been approved, of course, by the Chief Justice. And so Tiac's ambition is to be that approved institution, that trusted institution by the judiciary, to be able to receive referrals when the court registrar or the person receiving the docket says, actually, you know what, your dispute could work well through this particular channel. Thank you. And so that was it. And in reading all that research that we were doing at that time, this was 2016, 2017, and so on and so forth, we thought that this was the right formula for us. Okay, so if technology allows, the particular structure of the organogram is that we would have the board. Of course, there's also the advisory and the court, as I already addressed. And of course, as sat here in front of us, managing director, and the managing director will have his resources, including a case manager, the finance team. I think what I can see here is, yeah, that's about it. So it would be a 6-man team reporting to the managing director. Of course, this is keep on piling, and it's not going to happen overnight. Remember, people have to adapt the model clause in order for them to trigger it and refer that matter to Tiac. So we are not anticipating a huge docket for at least another 3 years or so. But that could all change if the justice model comes into operation before, yeah? And then the next slide gives you the kind of service stream that we were thinking about, and that would continue to change because the ADR spectrum continues to expand. So we have the mediation starting off, and then we have arbitration, conciliation, we have adjudication. This is mostly being administered in our country by the NCC, the National Construction Council, but we can tap into that because I'm sure, being that, yes, the NCC has been around for quite a while, a new breed and new energetic sort of platform or administrator could be calling for those who are in the construction industry. We also thought of having expert determinations, and these are new in our country, and that's why we're building the culture for them, because these expert determinations are just document-based dispute resolution processes where the expert determines from his expertise a particular matter of contention between the parties. Additionally, we have also the strategy of having to conduct or lobbying exercising for new laws, reforms, where we see the need to welcome them. For example, at this point in time, there's a lot of discussions, there's a lot of forums on the loops that are within our current Arbitration Act. And so that is where Tiac would also be able to lend his strength in giving or getting the message to the legislator. Mentoring and training, capacity building, I commend the work that has been done so far. It's been aggressive, it's been on point, if that's a word, and it's just amazing how the current team that's on the ground, led by Alphonse, has been achieving this particular strategy. The strategy of publication, articles and research. We're a nation where we don't have a lot of research out there, and so let's build this particular liking to more publicizing and writing. And then, of course, setting up associations where we could meet up, round up, like today. I love seeing everyone that's in front of me and engaging and exchanging our thoughts on arbitration and anything else that comes to mind. Of course, the Tiac will have classrooms, not classrooms, but world-class hearing rooms, along with breakouts, because we find this very difficult in other institutions, especially in the country, where, finding a hearing room and also having 2 breakout rooms, or at least 1 breakout room, it's very difficult. And so what we had operationally put forward and advised was that there would be hearing rooms along with breakout rooms. So if you're in a mediation and you're a mediator and you need to have a caucus and a joint session, you don't have to think twice. You know that Tiac have the facilities for you. So that's why we really put forward a strong setup to accommodate all these particular proceedings. Of course, there's also now the move towards virtual proceedings. We've seen the court enable us, and the court virtual, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a virtual platform where you could actually attend for mentions and even hearings at points. And so this will also be something that Tiac will have in place, where you could be enabled to do so in a virtual platform. Tiac will maintain a panel of neutrals. However, after I attended a Battle of the Titans a couple of days ago, I think I might have to come and talk to you about this, because it might need to change. But this is where we have a panel of neutrals, and that list is the list that goes to the client. Now, there may be a little bit of a politics there, having a list and not having a list. So we might have to think about it. But this is what we have on paper at this moment in time. So members can join and become members of that panel of neutral. Of course, what we advised was that to establish this, we need a good set of guidelines, a good set of policies, a good set of reviewers, you see, because you don't have a list of neutrals that you would be putting into the end user who are not competent or competent. So having a good reviewer of those applications to the neutrals is something of which we will look into. Now, the strategic goals themselves and the priorities for 2021-2023 were the institutional development itself, provisions for these particular services, arbitration, mediation at the top of our list, having to establish that multi-door concept that we spoke about, the justice model throughout the country, then promote cooperation with international bodies, build capacity, and of course, keep on our strength in promoting the use of ADR. Research and publication was also on top of our list. Awareness and stakeholder engagement. This has been on top of our list for quite a while now. As you heard, we have engaged with TPSF, TCCIA, and the rest to come in as guarantors, because this is limited by guarantee, and so their presence will really bring in the end user, because their members are the ones who actually would end up using this particular service. And of course, policy and law reform. Now, I'll just jump straight through to the rules, because I think I've gone over my time. And I think this also is important to point out. A SOAS report that came out in 2020, this is the School of Oriental African Studies report, Africa Arbitration Report, put on top of the list the Arbitration Foundation of Southern Africa as the top choice in the African continent in that questionnaire. And the second was Cairo, then third was Kigali, Lagos, and then Nairobi. And so I'm not going hand in hand with what I have on my screen, but that's the report in front of you. And in terms of the classification, AFSA and CIRCUCA keep on coming up on the top. And of course, at this time around, we could also see the Tanzania Institute of Arbitrators there with the number of cases that it had. So the critical success factors, if I could just go through them very quickly, these are to become to be customer-centric, to be a trusted organization, as highlighted earlier, to support the stakeholders, especially the Ministry of Justice, of Legal Affairs, and the entire judicial system. And then, of course, also supportive to other key stakeholders in terms of building capacity, and I won't go through the entire list. Now, just to jump straight up with the 3-minute dive into the arbitration rules, because this is pretty much an easy run. The salient features of the arbitration rules, if I could say, we've borrowed a lot from the Unicitral model arbitration rules. And I think most of us practitioners who were arbitrators in ad hoc arbitrations preferred to adopt these. And I think a person who really taught me how to use these well is sat in front of me, Dr. Kapinga there. The Unicitral model arbitration rules really work well. So what we did was borrow a lot from that. Not only for harmonizing, because all the other regional centers have the same model adapted in their rules, but also building the having the harmonized Unicitral model law is also building, what is it called, trust for the investor to say, okay, we can come to Tiac because the rules, we're conversant with them. We've adapted them in various jurisdictions and they should be interpreted the same and nobody can, do their own interpretation. And so that's why we went with these, and that's why they're important. It's got sections, which are just 5 sections with about 47 articles, a schedule of fees. Amazingly, we were able to agree on the fees, but that could change as it becomes operational, and of course, the costs element. We have a model arbitration clause, which is also on that particular banner. Thank you. The model arbitration clause, for me, as a strategic person, what I call upon was, to you all, is to adapt it in your review of contracts. If you find that the rules work well for the particular case at hand that you have in front of you, or the particular contract, the nature of contract, then please do adopt this clause so that that particular pipeline can be built on from that. Because the pipeline for the Tiac comes from this particular clause, being that arbitration is a creature of contract. Now, I've got another slide which is too small, but I'll go through it very quickly. And the slide in front of you, really what says is, gives you just a breakdown of the Tiac rules and the UNICITRAL rules, and gives you a picture of where we are marrying and where we're not marrying. For example, the commencement aspect, the commencement is provided for under Article 4, and that's on the date of the notice received by Tiac, whereas in the UNICITRAL, it's when it's received by the respondent. And then deadline for the response is 21 days. In the UNICITRAL rules, it's 30 days, so we've sort of cut down a few number of days. The default number, we really don't have a particular one. We are going to work on the particular nature of the case in the circumstances that come before us, and Tiac will decide on that. Whereas in the UNICITRAL, the default where you can't agree on a number of arbitrators is 3 arbitrators. The jurisdiction of an arbitral tribunal, also under Article 24, the tribunal has power to rule on its own jurisdiction. This aligns to our law, which is under Article, Section 32, if I can recall, of our law, Arbitration Act 2020, in terms of competent principle being brought into our country. Also, that aligns well with the UNICITRAL rules. Confidentiality provisions contained in our rules, also there in the UNICITRAL rules, but in our rules, it's much more comprehensive in terms of allowing the practitioner to do a lot more where there's exceptions to the rule of confidentiality. Costs allocation, the rules provide for apportionment of costs. Under Article 41, Article 39 deals with costs to arbitration, what amounts to costs, and that gives you the whole list, so you wouldn't be fishing out for anything elsewhere, because the rules are very much providing for everything that you need as an arbitrator and also as an arbitration counsel. Then the expedited procedure, this is a new feature. And this allows you for expedited process where the amount in dispute is less than 50 million shillings. It's not provided for in the UNICITRAL rules because this is a developing part of international arbitration where they saw the need of expedited procedure and also emergency procedure where there's fear of maybe assets being depreciated or alienated. Then time frame for issuing of an award, no set time frame. We borrowed leave from the UNICITRAL rules. Also, our current legislation doesn't provide for. Corrections or interpretations or additional awards, that's provided for in the Tiac rules. Similarly, in the UNICITRAL rules. So we are marrying very well, including the interim measures provided for how to do so, how to seek for interim measures, and that the tribunal has powers to do so, similarly with the UNICITRAL model law. So we have not recreated the wheel. We've pretty much borrowed leaf and made it friendlier to our context. And I'll end my presentation there, being that I've gone slightly over. I thank you all for listening. I wish you good day.
Thank you, Madeleine. Next in our program, we want to simulate, as a continuation to what Madeleine has presented, we want to simulate the ideal arbitration rooms that we want to have here in this center. And I should say that we are proud to to be the first, we are privileged to be the first center in this country with its own arbitration rooms. Our appeal, we are yet to have the equipment that will take us to regional and global standards, but that is our appeal to you, that you become part of us, you support us. I'm waiting for the team. Are you ready? So let's see. This is what we envision. Joseph, are we ready?
Just a second.
Second, okay. So Madeline spoke of the SOA's report, the London School of Oriental and African Studies. This is one of the reports that every center in Africa wants to be in it, showing how they are faring. The recent report has ranked the AFSA, the Southern African Center, as the leading center in Africa, followed by Cairo Center, then Kigali came third, Lagos fourth, and Nairobi Center fifth. When you look at the criteria used, it's pretty much aligned to technology, competence of staff, the panel, the quality of the panel, the competence of the panel in that center. Almost about 10 criteria that really needs resources for you to be to score high in that list. Part of that criteria has prompted us to, has prompted us to come with this simulation so that we are able to compete in the near future, at least on the regional level. Now, please, I welcome you to look at this video. It's a short video, and we proceed. The quality of the panel. At least on the regional level. Now, please, I welcome you to look at this video. It's a short video, and we proceed. Thank you, Joseph. Number to regulate sound, yeah? So, those who have been in international arbitrations have a pretty good picture of what this is. Dr. Kapinga can say much about it. And I hope he'll speak about it when he comes to the podium later. Now, as you can see, what we just simulated, we really intend to have very advanced technological facilities. We already have the rooms. You're welcome to visit the rooms later on, the ground floor. And what has been simulated, it's basically the rooms that we have right now. And as Madeline put it earlier, our rooms are structured in a modern architectural design for arbitral institutions. We even have the breakaway rooms, the one she talked about. But the good thing is that we have access to more rooms within this building that can be used for arbitration. The challenge that we are confronting now is how to furnish the center. A modern center needs to have transcription facilities. It needs to have access to multilingual. We talk of, for example, when we talk of ASA or Cairo, proceedings can be done in multiple languages, and that needs resources. We need to have a very modern video conference facility. At some point, I think I should speak about this. At some point, we had a case that was being conducted, an arbitration that was being conducted in Nigeria, Nairobi, and Tanzania. And we missed that chance to take that case in our center just because our video conference facility was not ready by the time. So in these present times, the world is going virtual. Arbitration also is going virtual. And for those who are following, many of the international arbitration institutions have amended their rules in recent years to accommodate online arbitral proceedings. To be able to achieve that, you need facilities. So we also need to get to that level. Perhaps that is what I have to say for the time being. Madeline has said enough earlier, but after looking at that video, we invite you to be part of this cause. I should say we purposely invited our guests from different walks, from different sectors, the government, the business sector, practicing lawyers, because we wanted to tell them our dream, that we wish every institution, every person, every individual who has a stake in ADR to own this center. It shouldn't be for TLS alone. We can't make it alone because we are only from the supply side, but it's the demand side that, that also makes a good base for a well-functioning center. So for that reason, we had invited people from TPSF. I'm not sure if they're here. TCCIA, Tanzania Chamber of Commerce. We know they have throughout everywhere in the world. The chambers of commerce are the leaders in arbitration. We have invited government institutions. Fortunately, in the recent months, we have got a lot of support from government institutions, especially those with many arbitration cases. I'm speaking of TBA, Tanzania Building Agents, Town Roads, Tanzania Ports Authority, Tanzania Commercial Bank. They have given us a very good support. So we want all these stakeholders to be part of the cause that we have started at TLS. that being said, I think I should take it back to Taji. As you reflect the wishes that we have, I'll also request you to see how you can be part of us and support us. Thank you very much.
You can see I'm coming back up onto the stage like I'm going to deliver a big lecture. No, I'm not. In fact, I don't want people to reflect too much.
Yeah.
Because this is a good thing. I'd like people to decide. And that is why I'm carrying the following that I will explain to you. Of course, may we spread around the pledge cards because it's time to give. So it's coming to your table. And as it comes to your table, I think this is the part that I was really needed for this event because Guru could have done it himself, but they felt maybe I had the better skills. So let's see what will happen. I have a story to tell you, and I hope you will enjoy the synonymity, if that is a word, with this occasion. So on the 14th, we commemorated the passing of the father of the nation, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. As I was preparing for this launch, I came upon information that inspired me. I like to do my events well, and I like to give them purpose. So let me see if I can do the same today. I believe this story will affect you in the same way. And here's the story. Now, the Faculty of Law is the oldest, highest education training institution in Tanzania and the oldest law training institution in East Africa. It is a flagship institution. The Faculty of Law was established on a Wednesday, October 25th, 1961, and it was named the University College Dar es Salaam. Now here's some background. When Mwalimu Nyerere was appointed Chief Minister of Tanganyika on September 1, 1960, one of his first acts was to announce the need to have our own university as it was a symbol of nationhood. This need led to the enactment of the University of Dar es Salaam College Provincial Council Ordinance on February 16th, I'm very good with dates, 1961, to pave way for the establishment of the Faculty of Law. You're receiving the pledge forms as I speak. Mwalimu Nyerere, while inaugurating the faculty on October 25th of the year 61, stated the faculty's raison d'etre, the reason for it to be. The college has been established in a rush. The decision to start the first faculty in 1961 and to proceed as rapidly as possible was an educational decision meant to increase opportunities for university education for all citizens. A very noble and visionary man. My government is so pleased that the law faculty is open even before Independence Day. Dar es Salaam is the only place where East Africans can get training in law. It is not by accident that we started with the law college. Are you aware of this story? My learned brothers and sisters? Yes. Now you know. Now you know. Now, in 1961, the Tanganyika African National Union, who were members? You are all not members. Hata professor, not members at all. All right. In 1961, the Tanganyika African National Union had just completed building its headquarters along New Street, that was New Street, later named Lumumba Street. New Street, Lumumba Street. The building cost 7,971 Tanzanian shillings. It was an astronomical amount at that particular time. And these were contributions from 110 TANU members. And here's the crux of my story. Mwalimu Nyerere contributed 200 shillings from his own pockets. Who can do the maths, the exchange rate? 200 shillings back then. To demonstrate its commitment to university education, TANU offered the said building for use by the new university college until the latter could secure its own premises. Do you see where I'm going here? With TIAC. Okay? The building was used as a makeshift university and accommodated staff offices, classrooms, a library, and a dining room. Accommodation was provided at the Roman Catholic Church Hostel at Msimbazi and the Salvation Army Hostel at Mgulani, which we all know very well. Students used to travel by college bus to and fro. This was back then. Maybe good times, I'm not sure. Today we're humbly requesting for your very generous contribution aimed at furnishing TIAC arbitration rooms. Kindly note that we appreciate monetary as well as material donations. You will get to see the rooms and decide, I think we can put up the desks in this room. Okay? And so go ahead and do that. You have a pledge form in front of you, but I also have something else. I have a set of 7 books bound together. Here they are. Where are my models? Please move around with the books. Naomba tutembee na vitabu hivi. There they are. Our very able mawakili waheshimiwa, naomba tafadhali tutembee na hivi vitabu. And it's a set of 7 books of international arbitration in East Africa. Very important. It's one of the most expensive ones on the set. Guiding Notes on Arbitration Law and Practice, Part 1. Guiding Notes on Arbitration Law and Practice, Part 2 and 3. And also we have Guiding Notes on mediation, negotiation, and conciliation. Now, together, this is about 100,000 shillings. But why don't we give it 5 times the value? So if we, please show them around. And you may immediately say, okay, I'm taking them at the 5 times the value. Yeah, right. And so that would be, not in Tanzania, Tanganyika shillings, 500,000 shillings, you're good with the maths. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Hand them over right away. So you have an option. Either pledge, and do I see a hand over there? And the pledge form says, we would like to pledge to TIAC your name, total amount of pledge, and guess what? You can roll it over the year. So if you're going to start, you're going to say 1 million shillings, then just give 100,000 shillings every month or every week. All right? So please do that. Sign it in. And the high table is not exempt. I can see we're already signing across the room. There you go. So ladies and gentlemen, let's look down, pick up our good pens. And these are really good pens, by the way. Miwa naibaga kalamu nzuri. Baumans, umefanya kazi nzuri. These look really good. They're very executive. Please use those. We have those at table. Acknowledge our sponsors. And we'll come around and pick up the pledge forms. And in the meantime, let's announce you. So, are you inspired by the Malim story? Please, we wish to recognize you.
I was inspired by the hard work from Tiac, including from our bonds and Margaret and the whole team. I was with Dr. Katinga in Bogans until a few weeks ago. I've just stopped to try and have babies. But I'm a Wakili. I'm Sabrina.
Sabrina. Always very supportive at every event.
Tac.
Yes. Where are you?
Here. I'm here. I'm up here.
Oh, there you are. Yes.
So Sabrina missed her certificate. She missed an opportunity to take a photo with the chief guest. Ile certificate moja hapo ilikuwa ya Sabrina. She has been very supportive at Tiac.
We'll make sure that she gets a picture.
Yeah.
I know it is a Kabisa. So we have a certificate for you. Anyone else? I saw a hand over there, so I'm not mistaken with mine.
Yeah.
Safi Kabisa. So we're down to 5 now. Karibu sana.
Taji. Taji.
Yes, let's go.
We have good news from the high table.
Oh, what is it? Tell us.
Mgeni rasmi amenunua package kwa shilingi $500,000.
Makofi mabibi na bwana,
Lakini hajaishia hapo Taji. Hajaishia hapo. Hii mara mbili tena makofi. Ata contribute shilingi $1,000,000 kwenye hiyo pledge. $1,500,000.
Super kabisa. Naomba tafadhali tuende moja kwa moja kwa mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi pale. Tafadhali tumpelekee seti yake. All right. Around the room. Gentlemen, we signing for pledge forms. Okay, so nazungumza na accountants back at the office. Opo nzima. They did settle here. Oh, mheshimiwa. Mabibi na bwana, how many we're down right now?
Sorry?
Tumeshauza vitatu sasa.
Set tatu.
Please, stand and be acknowledged. Okay. Set your hand. President. Salaam. Nachukua kwa kitani.
Taji kuna mkono mwingine kule.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Almost done. Tumemaliza jamani. Hey, mama dad. Tuanze na wewe ladies first. Kuna mama mshika hapa. Twende, let's go. Yeah.
Asante sana.
Doctor, you're dashing in your suit. There's no way you're not taking anything.
Actually, Taji, Dr. Nyika ni moja wa sponsors wetu. Law Hill. Yes.
Yeah, on behalf of Law Hill, tunachukua kwa milioni.
Hey! Giving it so much. Asante sana. Nashukuru sana. Are my books done? Am I set done? Tumemaliza. Is that correct? They're done, right? Okay, naomba tupige makofi mengi sana kwa wote wanaopokea. Na kwa hakika kabisa tutamwomba mgeni rasmi kwa sababu naye alikuwa ni mmoja kati ya washiriki katika kununua seti hizi. Tupige picha pamoja, itakuwa ni kumbukumbu nzuri sana kwenye ofisi zetu. Sasa tunakwenda kwenye pledge form zetu. All right? Anyone done in the room? Tuje? Yes, there we go. Earliest in the room. Sitakusahau. Do you mind if we announce it? Is it okay? Excellent. Thanks.
On behalf of Guru and Palace, we're going to give 1 million Tanzanian shillings.
Super kabisa. Asante sana. Asante. Hii naomba tuipokee ambaye Kelege sometimes hati ya mwanasheria pia inaweza kuwa inafanana na daktari kama nimekosea kati ya K na G. Mpula 100,000 shillings to be paid over 3 months. Asante, nashukuru sana. Tupige makofi tafadhali. We should be taking note of these numbers, by the way. Ili leo tuweze kuweza ku-announce. Do we have another one that I can announce? Ziko tayari, eh? All right. Anyone at table ambaye nipenda nifike tuweze ku-announce? I'm looking around. Yes, there you go. Right. Please, nobody answer now.
Kwa sababu ni mtoto wetu basi nitatoa $1,000,000.
Super kabisa. Naomba mwandike hiyo. Let's not miss a number. Usiongeze sifuri lakini sikiliza kwa makini.
Kwa sababu ni ndoto yetu, mimi natoa $200,000.
Asante kabisa. Asante, nashukuru sana. Please keep this up. Now I'm going to come table to table kwa kweli. Na sio kwa kuwashurutisha, lakini ikiwa mna mioyo ya kutoa. Karibu sana. Please stand and asante sana for presentation here.
Thank you, Taji. You bring a lot of joy. Along with Tiac, on behalf of Arbitral, will be pledging 2.5 million.
Hey! Everybody gets a picture today. May I take this? Oh.
kidogo, on behalf of the Prince attorneys, 1 minute.
We're doing very well, I think. Taratibu tu, these are done. Mheshimiwa kumeshikilia gentlemen hapa. Karibuni. Mewi. Tumeshazungumza na bodi.
Hello everybody, congratulations. Alphonse to Tiac.
Thank you, Harry.
My name is Harry Miro, and on behalf of Breakthrough Attorneys, we are pledging 1 million shares.
Asante sana, nashukuru sana. Mheshimiwa. Tuendelee? Okay, sasa.
Well, my name is Adr from the Legal Service Model. So, if you are not informed, we are working in partnership with Tiac and the Minister of Constitutional Legal Affairs, the Tanzania Arbitration Center. We have supported, and currently we are in the process of concluding a contract to support the project which Tiac is taking off with start from this month. So we have supported, and our commitment is that we will proceed to support next year.
I should point out that we are about to conclude a contract with Legal Service Facility for 57.5 million. Asante sana. Asante leo.
Any more tables already picked up? Picked up. Okay, sawa. Mr. Isabu. Katika meza hii naona makasisi kijani baada ya kumeni.
Thank you, Program Director. On behalf of People Advocates, I pledge $1,000.
Oh. I can see you looking at your balance sheets for your laptop. Are we good?
My name is I'm from Alison Associates, and on behalf of Alison Associates, I'll pledge $300,000 donation.
Afsa pia ni anayewakilisha Council ya East Africa Law Society.
Good to see. Hi. Anyone else here? Bado nafanya myself naona kwenye simu. Hapa all our sponsors kwa kweli tunawashukuru sana. Asanteni sana. Nashukuru sana. Mama yetu, fomu umeijaza ama tena kuza balozi? You're very busy for a second. Tunashukuru sana. Asante. Please spread the good news. You will get to see the rooms. Mariza and just tell them they deserve this. I understand where you're from, you're doing very well. So, maybe even our counterparts in Confederate will also say, hey, this is what we're selling to Tanzania. Sounds like a good idea?
Very good idea, Taji. But we should not forget that we have people online. Oh, they want to be involved in the process, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's joining us online? Wakati unakwenda kwenye meza za nyuma. Hata waandishi wa habari si mnachangia ama? All right, let's see who we can get online. And by the way, what follows next is a panel discussion that you will be running from where you are. You have 2 participants, I believe, on site, and one in London and one in Pretoria. So we'll listen to them for a while, and then we'll be heading towards the close. Hi, kama hatujajiunga bado, yeah, good to see you. Karibu sana, please.
Asante sana Taji. Mimi naitwa Olaf Mbuni, ni wakili. Vile vile ni wakili in-house counsel for Vodacom.
lakini on my own behalf tunachangia shilingi 500,000.
Tunashukuru sana. Asante sana. Haya, kama kuna sehemu ambapo sijapita labda, please raise a hand. Tuweze kuwaona au naomba tu urejeshe, ama kama hautarejesha utaondoka nayo. Alright, naomba basi meza yetu ya hesabu tufanye mahesabu kidogo. There's another one. So mabibi na wabwana, nitumie kwanza Kiswahili. Kwanza kushukuru sana kwa michango yenu ambayo tumeisikia hapa, lakini hii ni pledge card ambapo ina sehemu mbili. Unaweza kuondoka na moja, na kwa bahati nzuri tuna namba ambayo inafanana na upande wa pili. Tafadhali naomba ukafikirie, mkajadili na mwirejeshe kwa namba ya simu ya Miss Margaret. Margaret, please raise your hand. Margaret is right there. Wewe ndiye ambaye utakuwa unapokea simu na unaambiwa bwana, sisi tutakuwa tayari kuchangia kiasi kinachofuata. Kwa hiyo very astute wakili, tungefurahi sana kuweza kuendelea kuchangamana. Kumbukeni zile namba ambazo nimezungumzia za 110, na pia kihistoria naambiwa jengo hili zima ilikuwa ni michango yetu sisi wenyewe, si ndio? Kabisa. Kwa hiyo basi tuwe na moyo huo tuweze kufanikisha shughuli hii. Hatujawashurutisha, lakini tumewaomba kwa moyo, tafadhali tuweze kufanikisha haya ambayo tumeyazungumza kwa siku ya leo, kuwa na one of the most modern, one of the most sophisticated centers, very presentable. Pia tumesema kwamba tungependa muweze kui-own hii center nyinyi wenyewe, na ndio maana tumewalika stakeholders from near and far. Sasa basi tuendelee na kipengele chetu cha ratiba, na nilikuwa pia ningependa kusema Americans like to say that if you're going to be having lunch, then you have to pay for it. Kwa hiyo kwa sababu we'll be having lunch, tunashukuru kwa michango yenu, inamaanisha kwamba kweli you've truly paid for it. Lakini pia tuna keki, we've got champagne, so we'll have a little bit of a party after the panel discussion, na kabla Mama Mandari aja move the vote of thanks, na kabla tujaanza kupiga picha pia na mgeni wetu rasmi. Naomba mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi ukubali ombi hilo la picha, kwa vile kwa kweli ushiriki wako umewafurahisha wengi ndani ya ukumbi huu, hotuba yako, uvumilivu wako, asante kwa kuwa nasi, na wangependa kuondoka hapa na kumbukumbu ya uzinduzi wa kituo hiki pamoja nawe. Kwa hiyo it will be like a celebrity photo with you pamoja kwa mchango wao ambao umeutoa. Sasa kakaangu Gura, I love your dynamism. Kwa kweli, rising over the years, I expect to see you quite far. You have a panel discussion on the need for arbitration to investments and businesses in Tanzania. Yes. Lakini pia, it's an experience sharing and also discussing the future of arbitration in Africa and lessons to Tanzania. Yes. Are you ready with your panel?
I'm ready.
All right, very well. For those in-house, they may come and stand here and present. And for those online, I think we'll be using the television screens kuweza kuwaona from Pretoria and London. Karibu sana, let me allow you to continue with this. Lakini pia tujipigie makofi kwa michango ambayo tumeitoa hadi sasa. Tutatangaza our modest contributions for this occasion hapa. Karibu.
Asante. Jamani, nawashukuru sana kwa support. Thank you very, very much. This has been very encouraging. It's a really short notice, but you have given us that hope that we are doing the right thing. Our fundraising event will be continuous. will not stop here, but we'll proceed in our other events. So whenever you get time, or whenever you want to increase your pledge, please just contact Margaret or me, and we shall get you through. So the panel discussion we will start with online discussion. We have two wonderful speakers, very competent speakers. They are going to share with us the experiences, one from South Africa, Stanley Nyamahindi, and Dr. Rukia Baruti from London. We will start with Dr. Rukia Baruti. I'm told she's ready. Dr. Rukia Baruti is a Tanzanian. She's based in the UK. She's an expert in investment arbitration, and that's her specialization. She has acted as a counsel and as an arbitrator in various international arbitrations. She's also the founder and the current Secretary General of the African Arbitration Association, which we intend as Tiac to be members of the AFAA in the near future. I welcome Dr. Rukia Baruti. I hope she's ready. She has 5 minutes to share her experience on the future of arbitration in Africa. Felipe, papi. Okay. We give an arbitration association, which we intend as Tiac masuala ya teknolojia. Basi wakati Filipo anaendelea kuset mitambo, kuna changamoto kidogo. I'll request Dr. Rukia Baruti and Mr. Stanley Nyamahindi to hold for 15 minutes or 20, and we start with the panel discussion here with those present here. Dr. Wilbert Kapinga and Judge Faust Twaib. We will, yes, Karibu. Yes. I request you to take the high table, please. Tusomba mic. Tutumie hapa mic.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, Dr. K is back.
So we might as go tumalize hizi kwa sababu ziko technical challenge.
Okay, sawa. Dr. Rukia, karibu.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. Gura, for the kind invitation and introduction. On this special occasion of the launch of the Tanzania International Arbitration Center, I'm honored to have the opportunity to address you on the future of arbitration in Africa and the role of the African Arbitration Association, or the AFA. Apart from a few countries in Africa, generally domestic arbitration is more widely practiced than international arbitration. That said, there's been real progress over the past few years on the continent of international arbitration. And I'm pleased to note that a lot of progress has happened in East Africa. What with the establishment of the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration and the Kigali International Arbitration Center, and now our very own Tanzania International Arbitration Center. Arbitration institutions have begun to take more of a center stage in shaping the future of international arbitration globally. Indeed, arbitral institutions now play a crucial role in upholding due process and the shaping of the parties' rights in international arbitration through innovative rules, codes, and guidelines. Almost all of the most exciting procedural innovations that have taken place in recent years, such as emergency arbitration, mechanisms for joinder and consolidation, expedited proceedings, etc., have come from arbitration institutions. So, coupled with Tanzania's recent model on arbitration, I believe Tanzania International Arbitration Center is well placed to join other arbitration institutions in developing international arbitration in Africa. Today, the evidence on the whole is that the vast majority of parties prefer institutional arbitration. This is because institutional arbitration offers the advantage of pre-established rules and procedural frameworks that are reasonably predictable in their application, and they prevent the need for parties to negotiate matters that might otherwise provide or prove contentious. As there are so many arbitration institutions in Africa, one of the main challenges is distinguishing between those that provide fully fledged, reliable dispute resolution services and those that don't. Arbitration institutions are fundamentally market players who compete for a share of the international arbitration business pie. Accordingly, African arbitration institutions have to pick up the game in order to have an impact on the development of arbitration in Africa. The other challenge for Africans in international arbitration generally is visibility. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have an online presence. Arbitration institutions need to ensure that they not only have the facilities for conducting international arbitration, but they are making themselves more visible and more accessible. The need for visibility also applies to African arbitration practitioners. For our part, the AFA aims to maximize the benefits of efforts by arbitration institutions to develop international arbitration in Africa. We do this by providing a platform to raise the visibility of and promote services offered by its members, consisting of African arbitration institutions and arbitration practitioners. We launched in June 2018, and our mission is to develop the practice of international arbitration and alternative dispute resolution in Africa, and to promote African arbitral seats and African arbitration practitioners globally. The AFA also acts as an umbrella body for all Africa-related arbitration. In addition to its searchable membership directory, the AFA offers a resource called the African Arbitration Legislation. This holds arbitration laws of all African countries. It is a tool that has interactive and comparative features, which allows users to compare arbitration provisions of 2 African countries or of an African country with the Arbitral model law. Furthermore, the AFA holds a directory of African international arbitrators. The purpose of this directory is to make African international arbitrators more visible and accessible. Users can search arbitrators by gender, nationality, language, areas of specialism, etc. So African arbitrators are encouraged to submit their profile to this directory. I also encourage African arbitration institutions to join the AFA as members. To conclude, I'd say that our success depends on the success of arbitration in Africa. If today's launch is anything to go by, the desire to succeed in arbitration and the future of arbitration in Africa is very bright indeed. Thank you very much.
Dr. Baruti, we really appreciate having taken time to speak to us. I believe the individuals and institutions, we look forward to work with you more often. We know that you've been away from Tanzania for a long time, but we really need your expertise here. So we really appreciate having you with us. Now I welcome Mr. Stanley Nyamahindi, CEO of the SADC Lawyers Association, but also working on the AFSA SADC seat. He will speak about it. I believe he's ready online. Mr. Nyamahindi, karibu. He will also speak to us on the Southern African experience for 5 minutes. Then we'll come back to the panel before us here. Stanley, are you ready? You got that? Are you polite? Apparently, Stanley is experiencing challenges. So, do we have any questions to Dr. Baruti? Okay.
Sorry, were you speaking?
Dr. Baruti, there's a question from Dr. Frederick Ringo.
Sorry, what's the question?
Thank you for the expose. It was succinct and well understood. My question is, how much is the accessibility of those potential disputants to the AFA information? Who are exactly your clients?
Who are our clients?
Right, and how much compared to other similar associations? Maybe there's an Asian association which is, competing with, or similar to yours. Who are exactly your clients who come to look, who access your database?
All right, it's anybody really who is a user of arbitration and has perhaps a dispute with an African party. They may want to look for an African arbitrator, and actually we had different people approach us. Most recently, it was a German company. It's a development company, very much interested in developing arbitration in Africa, and they came up to us asking about African arbitrators, where we can find them, how they can help African arbitration institutions. And I wish I had sooner about the launch. I would have actually recommended the Tanzania International Arbitration Center to them. So it's really anybody interested in arbitration in Africa may have a dispute. invested in our country.
Any other questions? Was that a good response? Were you satisfied with that, Dr. Baruti? Thank you. Anyone else in the room before we try to link up with the next speaker? I'd say, sir, we should move to the panel seated. So that, sorry? Okay. Let me allow you.
Dr. Baruti, good afternoon. It's still morning in UK, I think.
Yes, it is morning.
Okay, maybe you can tell us, those of us who are here and who are online, how does one become a member of the AFA?
Oh, it's really very simple. Just visit our website, which is https://www.afa.ngo. And on the menu, you'll find a place that says membership. Just click on that, and right down it says apply. So I don't know if I'm able to share my screen, probably not. I could have shown you where to go and do that.
Do you subscribe to the membership? Is there is it a free membership? Can you hear me, doctor? Maybe not. All right. But anyway, we've got the address. That's good enough. All right, sir. May I please prompt the speakers that are here with us? Karibu sana.
Thank you, Dr. Baruti. Now we'll convene back to the speakers who are here. You can also follow their discussion. We'll go by way of questions. It's a small panel discussion. Before us, we have Honorary Judge Dr. Fauz Twaib, who is a retired judge of the High Court of Tanzania, but a seasoned practitioner. He, as well as a scholar and a lecturer. Before joining the bench, he taught for many years at the University of Dar es Salaam. Then later on, he also worked for a long time with the Ismail Advocates as a partner before joining the and practice as well. Speakers to share the experience. Want to have experiences of these seasoned practitioners. Now, starting with Dr. Kapinga, I'll go by way of questions, and I should point out that as Tiac, we are very much interested with commercial ADR. So my first question will be directed to Dr. Kapinga. And I'll start with the phrase from the in 2011. ADR is growing in importance worldwide, driven not by the mainstream civil justice system reform, but businesses themselves seeking commercially focused, tailor-made dispute resolution operate It's the role of private sector businesses in supporting ADR. Arbitration culture in the country is still at the fringes, in our country particularly. I would like Dr. to share what are the key takeaways for the businesses and private sector, especially those who are in this session. Karibu, Dr. Kapinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Managing Director of Tiac. When I was asked to speak about my experience, and then I'm drawn to some huge commentary from the World Bank. Yes. Arbitration is very nascent in Tanzania, and if we have to advance, or if we have to have a future in arbitration, the starting point should be the culture, our culture towards arbitration. How do we view arbitration? Because it's nascent, the majority of us and our clients are just belligerent. They have a dispute, they want to go to court. They do not want to discuss anything. They say, no, you see me in court. And of course, the lawyers get employed there when you rush to court. Of course, even when you settle matters under ADR with the support of lawyers, they do make some money, but probably less money. Now let me explain the problem of our culture. When I was growing up as a lawyer, I used to represent indigent persons. Persons who cannot afford to pay fees. And the other side were corporates, big employers. So, you and me know that the best way to resolve things is not necessarily to drag issues into litigation. The best is to try to settle. So I had this huge case representing something like 400 employees against some big corporation. I thought the case was a fit one for settlement, and the lawyer on the opposite side had a similar view. So I started chatting with him just after I stepped out of the then labor tribunal. And this employee came and pulled me away from that lawyer. And I said, listen, can I finish my sentence? No, you're not finished. Why? Because why are you talking to the other side? Now, because they're belligerent, even when there's an opportunity to resolve matters in a shorter period, they do not understand that. And I didn't know. I mean, I thought I was doing a good thing for them. Them, no. You don't talk to the other side certainly yes, without them saying, go ahead. That's what I learned that day. Now, if you start with that approach to dispute resolution by alternative means, the future is not there. I'll give you more recent example. You agree arbitration, you start with, in some structures, you start with adjudication. And the purpose of adjudication is probably to see if you can close the matter without going to arbitration. But you need to appoint the adjudicator by agreement. Some structures suggest you propose a name, the other guy doesn't give any reasons, but if he doesn't like it. So I said, okay, can you propose your own name? They'll take ages to come back to you with a proposal. So they don't really want to resolve it. That's adjudication, which would have resolved matters pretty fast. They would find every reason not to accept a proposal from the other side. I've seen other cases where they say now, I actually encourage the opposition to propose a name and that cheaper than going to court. Maybe not. But at least the culture of going out in a boardroom to resolve things. You and me know, if you resolve things in the boardroom, what do you do at the end? You shake head. You never do that when you go to a court. There will be appeals, there will be vicious. ADR generally resolve avenues, all sorts of things. In arbitration, it is not the same. Been running since the 90s, which have been resolved today. So, I think that if we are to have any future at all, and I am offering my Tiac will put in place to help reduce the backlog, and so that we get a sense of giving more credit to the judiciary, because we blame the judiciary a lot, but they don't decide cases. There are too many. Because our system has no mechanism for sieving out frivolous claims. Everything which gets filed properly must be heard. Obviously, yes. It doesn't matter how many judges you employ. They will always have a backup, because there's no system of sieving out disputes which do not need to go to court. I know the late Nyalari system in the 80s, where file a pleading, go through the pleading, if that needs to be listed. Why did sometimes you file a pleading, you have not signed the pleading, there's no verification, you just file it. What will happen is, it goes ahead, to go ahead. I doubt it. The late Nyalari, the registrar should go through any pleading. If it's in the shape to be listed, it was a very good idea. And it helped us figure out, oh yeah, instead of getting an objection. But, and I remember the registrar then, who then became judge, Rema, I think he passed on, if I'm not mistaken. He got exhausted. There were so many files because everything, and he had to go through each one of them to determine if the plate at least meets, which means you have the CPC here and check if there's compliance. He quietly decided not to do the job. He'll just, and the lady I didn't even know the registrar had stopped doing that. So the objections continue. So I'm told in India, he got that system from India. The guys, yeah, I'm told now I'm too much. But the point is, let us develop the culture of out of we might lose money going to like arbitration, but that's encouraging agents from mediation and arbitration. So I think that's what I'll say now. What is ahead?
Thank you, Doctor. He actually took back the challenge to us that we have to break this culture ingrained within our business community. We have to advocate for amicable settlement. Tiac has a role, but the good thing is he volunteered his expertise. If we hold a symposia for the business community, he's ready to speak to the business community. And we guarantee you that we'll definitely do that. I would want you to speak about your experience, Doctor, in investor state arbitration. I know for a fact that you have represented the government in so many disputes involving investors against the government of Tanzania in the past. I'm not sure of the present, but while we were at Migogoro. Right now, investment arbitration has aroused interest in African governments. Yeah. Given the growing levels of interaction between the government and international investors. And different countries and regions, including Africa region, are trying to come up with different models for investor state arbitration. What would be your advice with regards to any kind of navigation that we are doing currently in investor state arbitration, from your experience?
Does it work now? Yeah, thank you. So now that's a very sensitive area to trade. Now the two systems of which are in place. One is the ICSID mandated investor dispute resolution, which, as you know, is a World Bank institution. It provides for dispute resolution between investors and states, usually the investor to that. So that convention, and so most disputes go there. The other system is under BITs, bilateral investment treaties. Many of them, once signed, they adopt the ICSID dispute resolution mechanism. Now, other lawyers cases or representative government, which to prepare for those arbitrations. That's number one. Now, preparedness means you are very transparent with what you did. Now remember, it's rare that the government will be suing an investor in an arbitration. So, in all cases, the government is the respondent. In all cases, in all investor disputes, the government is the counterclaim. It doesn't usually start an investor dispute, sue an investor. It would usually be the investor suing the government for certain breaches, maybe expropriation. Mostly expropriation. Now, the problem we have, and I don't know what to say, but that's the experience we had, is, what word should I? There's government. Now, you're an employee. When you have an employee, for cure, asking the police, we give you 30 days to cure this. And investor, instead of curing, he said, no, we'll object to the notice of cure in an arbitration. We'll also object to any intended termination of our contract. Investor to commence the dispute. What did government do? It kicks out the investor from the country. Literally speaking, you just CEO and the CFO. Now, if they'd ask for advice, it is classic. Company is classic expropriation. How do you win that before in Nixon? How? Impossible. You cannot win that. So, how do you prepare for a case like that? Someone has commenced an arbitration, you've kicked out the CEO. How are you going to say, what is your defense, in other words? But in that case, we had a good defense. Not on the expropriation, but on the performance. This particular investor has done, in fact, even the World Bank said, we used to believe that only public corporations mess up things. But this is one case where an investor has behaved worse than a public corporation. So, on the money part, we won. But on the expropriation principle, we lost. So, the starting point is our governments need to see investors as partners. This arrogance of country, what? It has been happening. You know, I mean, the story. They're all reported. That diminishes the chances of government winning with that kind of arrogance. So, now as a lawyer, what do? One problem you usually have is you act for government, ask for it, maybe went for discovery. This we want this of cabinet, we should decide on this and that. Of course, the discovery is done in the office, right? And I told you my part, the government, the other side, they didn't ask me to discover your means of cabinet, Y date, your board of directors means of X date. And what does the government say? These are top secret. They're telling the lawyer, we cannot disclose those. So, you spend money arguing. So there's no transparency between government and their own lawyers. So we went back and said, oh, well, our instructions are, these are top secret, these are government secrets. We cannot disclose them. Now, of course, what happens in the end, this secrecy thing is a crown privilege. It's only limited to national intelligence, not cabinet minutes about kicking out some CEO. So we were forced to produce the minutes. So I think one of the role of the Tiac and maybe the TLS is also to inculcate that culture in government for transparency, you know, in the way they do things. If you're overhanded all the time, you lose out. So there are very, very few cases where governments win. Now, the other thing which I would like to share is the appointment of arbitrators. You don't just pick up a name, no. You literally need to understand the jurisprudence of the arbitrator you're going to appoint before you propose his name. Arbitration out there is like a club. You meet the same guys. The same guys, they keep moving from one arbitration to another. They know each other. So, what can you do? You can do a research. You can actually track certain arbitration decisions over years, and you'll be able to know if he's pro-investor, or if he's pro-government, or if he's in between. So you don't pick a pro-investor, someone who has never decided for government in the entire practice. Why would he change? So get someone who's balanced. In some cases, he decided for government, in others for. So appointing an arbitrator is actually 30% of the job done. If you get the wrong one, you're in trouble. In one case, we represented a government agency. It reached a point, the government agency had to remove their own person who they recommended. You know, well, once you're appointed, you don't become the party's arbitrator. He assumes impartiality. But the point is, I recommend Judge Makaramba as a party arbitrator. And Jackton recommends Judge Tribe. And then as matters go on, I realize that Judge Makaramba is undermining me openly, you know, behind, he says some nasty things. So, they had to remove him. At first he resisted, then he realized that's not good for his reputation. So, one other lesson, how you appoint the arbitrator. Understand his jurisprudence. Read. It can take you months. In one case, after that experience, we spent 4 months just checking out names until we said, oh, this one is, and we in the end, we gained because he had some favorable outcomes. He was able to persuade others that this is a case where you can split the baby. So that's another piece of experience which we need to think about. How you appoint arbitrators, transparency with your client. You act for government and then you say this is top secret, you have lost the case. Yeah, okay. It's for you now.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. That was really from the practical point of view. We know that he has had so much experience with arbitration. Now I'm being cautious about time. I'll straight go to Judge House. And I have 2 questions for him. Perhaps I'll combine them, and I wish that he will discuss about institutional versus ad hoc arbitration, because this is a matter that keeps on surfacing in our law. For Tiac, it's our interest to see arbitration being promoted, but still it's a debate all over interest between institution and ad hoc arbitration. I would like to have his thoughts on that, but as well, I would request him to discuss about the current legal framework if it's supporting a pro-arbitration culture and the role given to the judiciary within the current legal framework, if that supports the pro-arbitration culture. This was purposely done because he is from the bench, so I hope he's going to give us some good light on that. Thank you. Karim,
well, the first question, ad hoc arbitration, institutional arbitration, yeah, that debate is there, and I'd say straight away that as between the two, I would prefer institutional arbitration. Ad hoc
appears, as the name suggests, to be something that is not arranged in any particular form. Parties would agree that they would arbitrate. They don't choose anything other than that, and then maybe a way of appointing the arbitrators. Once they do that, the arbitrators will proceed. But there's no institutional framework within which that arbitration will take place, and that becomes problematic sometimes. Among the advantages of having institutional arbitration, one of them actually was mentioned by Dr. Baruti a few moments ago, that you have predictability. You know how what's the framework within which your arbitration would proceed, and that gives you a very good idea of what the procedure would be, because the institution will have its own rules of procedure. You would, even if you may not be able to agree on an arbitrator, for instance, if it's a single arbitrator, solo arbitrator, the institution would tell you how you would go about getting an arbitrator. You could apply to the institution to appoint an arbitrator for you. If you don't agree on who would be the chair of the panel of arbitrators, the institution may tell you how to get the chair by getting that chair appointed by the institution or president of the institution or committee of the institution. So that infrastructure gives you a framework within which arbitration proceedings can be held. But the other thing is it acts as a buffer zone between the arbitration proceedings and the courts. When you are stuck with an ad hoc arbitration, there is nowhere to run to but the courts. But if you have an institution, you could go to the institution and get a resolution of the problem that you are facing. For instance, you cannot agree on fees. The arbitration institution can tell you and can even decide how to go about that particular issue. In some institutions, those that are well developed, you could also get interim measures from an institution. We don't have that here now, but you could have, in some institutions, you could have the institution itself providing a mechanism through which you could have, for instance, an injunction. Currently in Tanzania, if you are suing somebody and you have you want an injunctive order, and you don't have the panel, because at that time the dispute has already arisen and there's some injury being committed against your interest, and you want an order, an injunction against the respondent, you have to go to court, file an application by way of a miscellaneous civil application, etc. So you will have to run to the very same place that you were trying to avoid. But if you have an institution and which provides a mechanism for such measures, the institution may appoint an arbitrator for you who would give those interim orders before you have the panel that has been constituted by the parties themselves. The other buffer zone that could be used there is there could also be an appellate stage before you go to court, especially when the proceedings are still going on. Instead of going to court on something that cannot be resolved within the arbitration proceedings, you could go to the institution for resolution of that of the matter which is in issue. But you could also have, with the list of arbitrators under the institution, you have experts, people from a list of people from whom you can appoint arbitrators. And of course, you'll be provided with their CVs, so you know whom to appoint. But if it's ad hoc, it's the entire world. Here in Tanzania now, we have the accreditation requirement. But before then, anybody in the world could be an arbitrator. So you have 50 million people, or maybe the adults could be maybe 20 million. That is the pool within which you can choose. And it doesn't give you a good direction as to what kind of expertise you would need in an arbitrator. And that will be avoided when it comes to institutional arbitration. So roughly, that is what I can say. It gives me the impression that it is better to have institutional arbitration than ad hoc arbitration. Your second point was with regards to the new law and what could be the right balance and jurisdictional approach, and what the courts, whether the courts now one could say that the courts now have a legal framework which is more friendly to arbitration. Let me start by agreeing with you that the judiciary is an important player in when it comes to arbitration, but it is the same judiciary that we are trying to avoid by going to arbitration. But the judiciary plays two very important roles in arbitration. One of them is to support arbitration, in the sense that you have a judiciary which is arbitration friendly, pro-arbitration judiciary, which tries to encourage arbitration rather than to discourage it. And by doing so, the judiciary plays a supportive role towards arbitration. But it can also, and it does also play a control role by making sure that arbitration, the proceedings that go on in arbitration are within the perimeters of the law. That you don't go beyond your jurisdiction as an arbitrator, for instance. You do not contravene fundamental rules of natural justice, that kind of thing, where you can challenge an arbitration award in court. Those are important roles that the judiciary plays. Now, the new law, I remember during the decade just before I joined the judiciary, we went to 3 different attorneys general, flashing the drafts of a proposed model law arbitration act that we were trying to get the support of the government for. And all those 3 attorneys general, unfortunately, did not succeed in getting us a new arbitration act. So when last year we got the Arbitration Act 2020, it was rather a very pleasant surprise for some of us. I know that the TLS has continued with that work. When I was doing that, I was still with TLS as at one point one of the members of the Standing Law Committee, and later on as president. And we went to the attorneys general specifically for that. Unfortunately, we could not succeed, but that battle has been going on, and we had this morning here how the TLS went on with the struggle to get the new act, and we did get it last year. And I can say for sure that it is a tremendous step that the country has taken towards having an arbitration-friendly framework. I remember once I had a case in the High Court, and I went to a judge. I had asked the court, I filed an application to have the the case that was against my client. My client was the defendant, and I had applied for stay of proceedings in the case pending arbitration, as is usually the procedure. And the judge, that was the first time we went before the judge, and then he asked me, what is this? You are trying to tell me that the High Court cannot exercise jurisdiction simply because these two guys have decided that they want to appoint some fellow out there to decide their case? You are trying to oust my jurisdiction? See, that was the kind of thinking that some of the judges had. I hope we don't have such judges today. But that was the thinking. That was around 1990 something. And you know, you get shocked to hear that kind of thing from a judge today. But you know, we had that kind of thinking. Fortunately, after arguing the matter, the judge was convinced that he actually had to order stay of proceedings so that the parties could go to arbitration. I think we are past that stage. I've been in the judiciary until last year. We have been having quite a number of trainings of judges. And Justice Makaramba here was amongst us within the judiciary. I'm not sure about the crop of judges that came in these past few years. But I think if you look at the decisions of for instance, of the commercial court, coming out of the commercial court currently, you could see that there is a mindset that is more pro-arbitration than otherwise. And having a new law modeled as it is on the English Arbitration Act, I think we can be optimistic that we are going to have a judiciary which would promote the right legal framework for arbitration in our country. I hope I have answered your questions, Mr. Do you have more?
No, in the interest of time, thank you very much. Another round of applause, please. To be honest, I've given them a very short time, and I wanted to share an experience that we all get the flavor and the feeling of what they are going through in so many years of their practice, because they are both early practitioners in this field of ADR and arbitration, and they have gathered so much experience. Now, I'll be cautious of time, so straight away I'll go to Mr. Stanley Yohindi, has been texting me that he's ready to speak. I'm not sure if he's still online. Is Stanley online? For 5 minutes only. Past our time? No? It's not online? Okay. So, let me stand up. So, I want to thank our panelists for having shared with us their thoughts on arbitration. I've chosen some strategic areas that we have an interest in, and this will give us a reflection, not only for Tiac, but also for our partners as we forge forward ahead. Now I'll take them back to their seats, and we clap for them as they go back. Sasa ndio naomba usihitaji ile ziada baada ya kazi kusikiliza.
Asante, nashukuru sana. Hongera. Na with that, we actually come to very close to the end of the program this afternoon. Well, thank you for that particular session. I hope it was educational. Unfortunately, Stanley couldn't join us, but we appreciate for those who were able to speak. Sasa, what what's left is the vote of thanks, Mahandari, the cake and the champagne. I'm going to loop you into all of that, plus a photo session. I'm going to loop you into all of those. Ndani ya sherehe ya keki na champagne na vote of thanks. Ili ndani ya vote of thanks yako tuweze kusimama wote with a glass and maybe some juice and some water, and then we can toast to the new Tiac. All right. So I think the first thing to do is let's begin with the photos na mgeni rasmi. All right. And then since he'll be standing, it will be appropriate to ask him to cut the cake. And after cutting the cake, we'll ask that we toast to Teac, and then tutamaliza. Lakini kwanza Mamandari karibu mbele. Naomba tumpigie makofi mengi sana. It was impromptu. Ilikuwa ni ghafla, naomba nikusaidie hapa. Karibu sana, naomba tusikilize kwa makini sana maneno haya ya kushukuru ambayo atatupeleka pia katika keki. Lakini naomba kabla hujamaliza labda niombe meza kuu hapo mlipo, nitawainua kutoka hapo mje mbele ya meza hii. Kwa hiyo hakuna haja ya kupanda hapa jukwani tena.
Okay, niendelee. All right. Is it good morning or good afternoon? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable guests of honor, Amoni Mpanju, our learned brother, Honorable President of Tanganyika Law Society, our Professor Hosea, where is he? I can't see him. Oh, so you're there, sorry. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It is my great honor and pleasure to be given this opportunity on your behalf to give the vote of thanks. My task is very simple because we have seen what has been happening. Kuna ule msemo unasema res ipsa loquitur, things speak for themselves. So I don't need to labor too much on this kwa sababu wote tumeionea. We thank our guest of honor, Honorable Mpanju, for taking your time to be with us today. You have been ready every time we need you. Umeweza kutenga muda wako without your busy schedule. Thank you very much. We need to put our hands together for our guest of honor. Tunakushukuru for coming to officiate the launching of this Center of Excellence. You have told us many things that I don't need to repeat. You have commended a good job that has been done by TLS so far. You have told us, you have told the TLS or the center to invest into expertise, knowledge, investing into knowledge, professionalism and excellency. Nadhani tutashika hayo. Huo ni wasia, and we thank you very much for reminding us. And we don't need to emphasize on the importance of establishing this center. We all know what is going to help us to reduce the burden that our courts are facing. Tunajua the courts have backlog of cases. Tunaambiwa kwamba one judge anaweza kuhandle even about 400 cases. You can even imagine the standard of judgments ambazo zinatoka hapo, and they're given the time limit within which they have to complete those judgments. Nyingine zinachukua miaka miwili, but mind you, writing even a single judgment, majaji wako hapa, they will tell us it's not so easy. Kwa hiyo even mtaona the center itasaidia to what extent to reduce the burden that our courts are facing. Hata sasa hivi kule wanaokuja kwenye tribunals, tax tribunal, kuna provisions sasa hivi imekuwa introduced kwenye e-finance bill ya this year. Wameamend, I think section 23 of Tax Revenue Appeals Tribunal Act, by introducing a clause whereby parties may sit together to settle the dispute out of court instead of going through the system ya tribunal kunina. Kwa hiyo itasaidia na imeanza kusaidia to reduce the workload ambao workload ambao tribunal ina face. Kwa hiyo tunashukuru kwa kuanzishwa hii center. We think it will assist us so much, and even the stakeholders. I think the center has been launched timely at the time when our President, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu, has opened up the economic opportunities. We expect a lot of investors to come in. Kwa hiyo there will be so many disputes, commercial disputes or investment disputes. Kwa hiyo jamani, we are supposed to, tunatakiwa tuwe tayari kujiandaa for that. Na kwa hiyo tunashukuru sana kwa sababu the center has come at a time when it is badly needed. We thank all the key players who have made this happen. Our leaders of Tanganyika Law Society, the past and present president and his team. We thank Madeleine Kimei for assisting to establish or to incorporate the center. And we thank our sponsors and everyone, each one of you who has taken part to make this happen today. Tunawashukuru sana. We also thank our distinguished guests for taking your time to be here until this moment. We thank our MC, Mr. Taji Liundi, for professionalism ya kuendesha shughuli kama hizi. Keep time, umeenda fanya vizuri kwa weledi. We thank you very much. The whole team of Tiac, the secretariat, and each one of you who has taken part to make this happen. Thank you so much. Jamani, pigeni makofi, kazi imekwenda vizuri sana. Thank you.
Asante sana. Usikae mbali kwa sababu kuna picha maalum inakuja. Naomba niinue meza kuu tafadhali. Mheshimiwa Rais na mgeni rasmi waje wasimame hapa mbele. Na nitaomba wale wote ambao kwanza walichukua ile paki ya vitabu mje mbele mpate picha na meza kuu tafadhali. Wapige picha mtaniambia kama mngependa nipange viti. Just maybe step moja tu ili wengine waje wasimame nyuma. I have quite a few people that I want to come for. Naomba tujipange wapige picha. Nadhani nimepata ushauri kwamba tuketi, tutumie viti hivyo vyote kwa idadi ya meza kuu. Tuache nafasi nyuma kidogo. Angalau one step back. Okay, wale wote ambao wametuchangia kwa kununua ile seti ya vitabu, naomba mje msimame kwa hapa nyuma, tafadhali, nyuma ya viti hivi. Na tunawashukuru sana. Tafadhali, please take your place. Karibuni, karibuni. Right, we can adjust. Yes, there we go. Yes, karibu. Pembeni hapa ya Gura. Tuwapige makofi sana, asanteni sana. Na overvalue vitabu hivi na mchango wenu utakuja kusoma kwa kiwango kiasi gani. Kwa wale wote ambao they were from 2.5 million to a million, tafadhali karibuni mbele. Na by that it's not even a distinction ya namna yoyote ile ya kubagua kwa hesabu. Nataka tu picha nzuri. Kwa hiyo utakwenda kwa numbers. Those contributing from a million, karibuni mbele tafadhali. Milioni 2.5. Tulisikia kama mje mbele tafadhali. Another picture. Ningependa kuwashukuru for your generosity. Najua sio mwisho. And and then nitakwenda kwenye kiwango cha $500,000. Asanteni sana. For those ambao tumepledge $500,000, nusu milioni, karibuni mbele tafadhali. Ningependa kuwakaribisha kwenye picha as many as possible. $500,000, $200,000, $3, $500,000, $3. Na hata, yes, yes, I knew there were a lot more, yes. Makofi, asanteni sana. Na wale ambao tumechukua pledge forms, tutakuja kuchangia, na wengine ambao tumechangia maneno kama mimi, naomba tuje tujiunge na hii picha. This is your lucky chance to be on a picture with me. Karibuni ambao mmechukua pledge forms, na tutakwenda kudiscuss maofisini huko. Karibuni. Sisi ndio tupigiwe makofi mengi sana kwa sababu itakachokuja kutoka huko. Naomba niwe na picha maana karibu tujiunge na picha siku. Tujazilie hapa. Subiri kidogo, kuna wengine wanakuja. You see, this is a very popular picture. You can see it. Just okay. Our sponsors, please rise and come forward. Wadhamini wetu, our proud sponsors. Asanteni sana. All of you are going to be very famous. Nikiingia kwenye social media, msishangae mkianza kutafutwa huko mliko. Our sponsors, please, tafadhali. Secretariat. Our sponsors are proud sponsors. Karibuni mbele. LSF next. Subiri kidogo. Taking a few steps forward. Hadi kwenye picha. Hi. Sponsors, faces forward. Makofi mengi sana kwa sponsors wetu. Now LSF, our partners, please rise. Karibuni. Karibu. Secretariat, naomba mjipange. Are you ready? Mmependeza sana wherever you are. Are you ready, Secretariat? All right, step in. Ambao mjavaa uniform naomba msimame next to each other. Na labda katikati ya picha. Tuwapige makofi sana Secretariat. Kiukweli wamefanya kazi kwa bidii sana. Stretching their time, their imagination. Hatimaye tumefika hatua hii. Hongereni sana, you're all now event planners in your own right. New skills learned. Just before we rise hapo, nadhani wataka nimebonyeza kitu. We're good? Alright, naomba ndani ya Secretariat tafadhali tujiandae kwa kuja kuchukua hizi chupa za champagne. Naomba tuje tuchukue 3 kwanza. Usijiulize nani anazifungua, naomba mje mchukue chupa hizi. Tendeni kidogo na maelekezo yangu. Lakini unajua, my learned brothers and sisters, one of the real true skills to be truly somi ni kujua kufungua champagne. Kwa hiyo naomba mwende filter through the room. Simameni karibu na meza, kama hamjui mtawakabidhi kwenye meza. So I want a party throughout the room. You're left off the hook. Mtafute msomi haswa mpatie, ndio watakao kufungulia. Na hii moja kakaangu utafungua wewe. Gura. Kama hujui, while the music plays, you shake, the bottle shakes, and you just unwrap it and hope something happens. All right?
Haya, naomba mkabidhi huku alafu mrudi tuhakikishe kwamba glass fresh kabisa zina angalau maji au juice or whatever it is kwa ajili ya wageni rasmi. Tuwape mkononi glass mkononi ambayo na everyone at table please make sure you have a glass with the drink in your glass. Right? Does everybody have a glass and a drink? Let me make sure I do the same. Sasa na kinywaji ambacho okay. And nobody said anything? Yes, sasa. Everybody, make sure you have a glass and a drink. Of their good choice. This champagne mixes with any drink in moderation. Alright, does everybody have a glass and a drink like me? Yes? Gura, do you? Make sure you, let me pour for you something at least. How many more, Bado? Bado mbili? Please, number pour a glass into number smame katika meza zetu. And champagne is only poured into your glass if you're actually standing. Oh, congratulations! Naomba uende katika meza kuu, tafadhali, Gura. Make sure you pour some. Everybody, champagne is never poured when poured into your glass when you're seated. It makes it flat, stale, unpleasant, and cannot be used for not good at all for cheering on the launching of such a center. So please, hiyo chupa wapatie wengine waende kwa kamati huko, and nitaomba Mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi, mabibi na bwana, Mheshimiwa Rais, please propose a very eminent person in the room to propose the toast and to wish Tiac many, many years. Yeah?
I'm proposing a guest of honor.
Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, to cheer?
Professor, kwa kunipropose. Nimeanzisha event na ifunga kiaina yake. Ingawa kwenye kufunga tunafunga nadhani bado kuna main dish. Kikubwa kama tulivyoizindua Tanzania Investment Arbitration Center, ndivyo prosper kwa miaka mingi ijayo, ifanye vizuri ndani Afrika Mashariki, Afrika na ulimwenguni kote, iwe suluhu ya utatuzi wa migogoro ya ndani ya biashara, uwekezaji ya wananchi wazawa na wa kimataifa. Mungu tuwezeshe iwe hivyo. Milele na milele.
Cheers. Jamani, tuje katika meza kuu hapa, waheshimiwa, tugonge glass na mgeni wetu rasmi. Cheers. Cheers. Let me hear cheers.
Sasa hapo tulipo tunaileta keki mbele ya mgeni rasmi na nitaomba baadhi ya kwenye kamati tuweze kuwa relieve of their glasses zao, ili symbolically tutakachokifanya sasa hivi baada ya kupiga picha na hii cake, naomba tuweke the face side with the face with the name iweze kuonekana vizuri. Tutamkabidhi mgeni rasmi kisu hiki na ataweka ishara tu kama anakata statically. Hata endelea kukata, sisi tutaikata vizuri kabisa na ataikuta kipande chake kikubwa atakikuta wakati wa lunch, which is where we're heading to right now. Right? Tafadhali sana tuendelee kusupport center yetu. Let's spread the word as much as we can. And finally, where's that piece of paper, Gura?
It is here.
This is the tail of the tail. Or the tail of the tail, tail of the tail. One of those, yes.
Well, clearly, this is a surprise to me. Now it's time to break the shell. Now, pledges now the pattern. For the book packages, we have cash 500, non-cash 3,500,000, which is a total of 4 million. For the pledge cards, we have 14,300,000. In total, we have cash of 500,000 and pledges of 18,300,000. Jamani, nawashukuruni sana. Sina kikubwa cha kusema zaidi ya shukrani kwa sababu it was a very short notice, but very short as kwamba mko pamoja na sisi. Basi sina nyingine zaidi ya kusema tu asante sana.
Great, I think we've deserved our lunch, right? Okay, very well. Makofi kwake mgeni rasmi, nashukuru sana. Tunaanza kumuongoza kuelekea kwenye chumba cha chakula. Tafadhali na meza huu ya wageni wetu wa heshima hapa mbele. Naomba tuwaongoze. Wengine wote, please start clearing your tables. Switch on your phones and don't leave. We're taking you to lunch shortly. Nashukuru sana. DJ kamziki kidogo kwa kasherehekea. Wadhamini wetu, naomba nanyi tuwaongoze hivi sasa kuelekea tulipowapeleka waheshimiwa wetu, all our sponsors. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate your sponsorship and your good company. Barikiwe sana na tuendelee kushirikiana pamoja na Tiac. Karibuni sana wadhamini wetu, tuwaongoze nanyi kuelekea kwenye lunch.
Kamati, naomba tuwaongoze wageni wetu, washirika wetu kwenye sehemu ya chakula sasa. Please clear your tables, carry your valuables. God bless you. Have a great afternoon. Karibuni sana.
Unakuzikopi?
Hizi nataka niziweke ina format ambayo hiyo kushare hazi.
Na mtazamaji wa Wakili TV popote pale ulipo, asante kwa kufuatilia matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja ya uzinduzi wa taasisi hii ya Tiac kutoka hapa Wakili House. Nilikuletea matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja, si mwingine alikuwepo Simon, mpiga picha huyu Fadhili, pamoja na Joseph Gandhi ambaye anasikika kwa hivi sasa. Ni kutakie ufuatiliaji mwema wa vipindi mbalimbali ambavyo vitakuwa vikiwekwa katika YouTube ya Wakili TV. Asante na kwa heri.
Karibuni sana. Na unaweza kuendelea na mazungumzo ukiwa mnakula. Kwa hiyo naomba tutembee tafadhali taratibu kuelekea kwenye chakula. Dura walk and talk. Tunasema walk and talk. And the gentleman with the suit walk and talk.